Scientists are now questioning if the arrival of the third interstellar visitor was a matter of pure chance or strategic timing. Somewhere in a silent corridor of the vacuum, a shadow is moving. It does not belong to the stars. It does not belong to the sun. It is a silhouette against the void, a shape that defies the geometry of the natural world. On July 14th, 2025, the sky changed, not because of a light, but because of a silence. An object designated 3I Atlas entered our awareness. It did not ask for entry. It simply arrived, and as it drifted through the orbital graveyard of our secret history, something happened, something we were not supposed to see. The data came from the Pan-STARRS survey, corroborated by independent tracking stations in the high deserts of Chile, July 2025. It was initially classified as a rogue interstellar fragment, a piece of debris from a distant, dying system. But then, the trajectory shifted. The Center for Near-Earth Object Studies began to notice a peculiar alignment. 2-3. I Atlas was not just passing through our neighborhood, it was navigating it. By August 12, 2025, the object entered a specific, highly sensitive sector of Earth's orbital plane. This is a region known in intelligence circles as the Whisper Gallery. This is the space reserved for classified satellite testing, where the physical laws of gravity meet the dark interests of national security. The first impossibility was the speed. 3I Atlas slowed down. Natural objects in hyperbolic orbits do not decelerate without a gravitational assist, yet 3I Atlas was in the middle of a void. It was as if the vacuum itself had become viscous. Then came the signal interference. On August 19, 2025, 3 experimental reconnaissance satellites, assets that do not officially exist, went dark simultaneously. When they rebooted, their internal clocks had drifted by exactly 1.6 seconds. This is a relativistic impossibility for objects sharing the same frame of reference. Finally, there is the matter of the halo. Amateur astrophotographers began capturing a faint, ultraviolet luminescence trailing the object. Not a tail of gas like a comet, but a structured, pulsing geometric lattice. The math suggests this lattice was not being emitted by 3I Atlas. It was being extracted from the space through which it moved. It was harvesting the wake of our own secret technology. What if 3I Atlas was not a visitor at all? What if it was a key, and the region of space we used for classified satellite testing was actually a lock we had been unknowingly picking for decades? We think of space as empty, but what if the specific electromagnetic frequencies used in our satellite tests act like a flare in a dark forest? Perhaps 3I Atlas did not just pass through that region. Perhaps it was summoned by the very secrets we tried to hide there. The ancients spoke of the Watcher in the Well. In Sumerian tablets, there are references to a star that moves like a bird, dipping into the dark waters of the sky to drink the breath of the gods. They believed that when the sky grew too crowded with the iron thoughts of men, a cosmic gardener would descend to prune the garden. We call it a satellite testing ground. They called it the threshold of the unspoken. The names change, but the feeling, that cold, prickling sensation on the back of the neck, remains the same. We spend our lives building walls of lead, of encryption, of atmosphere. We believe our secrets are safe because the universe is large and we are small. But there is a terrifying intimacy in the arrival of 3I Atlas. It suggests that distance is an illusion, that to be observed is to be known. And in the vast, cold laboratory of the solar system, we may not be the scientists. We might just be the culture growing in the petri dish, finally becoming interesting enough to warrant a closer look. If you enjoy these deep explorations in space, consider subscribing or hitting the like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to make content like this. The satellites are still up there, circling in the dark, but they are no longer speaking to us. They are speaking to something else. And 3i Atlas is just beginning to listen. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. Picture this. You are an engineer at a classified facility in the mountains of Colorado. It is 3 in the morning on September 4th, 2025. You are monitoring a satellite that officially does not exist, a piece of hardware designed to detect stealth launches from across the globe. Suddenly, the monitor displays a thermal signature that makes no sense. It is a perfect circle, 3 kilometers in diameter, appearing right in the path of 3i Atlas. That is not natural physics. That is activation. You lean forward, the blue light of the liquid crystal display etching deep shadows into your face. You check the calibration. You check the cooling systems. Everything is functioning within nominal parameters. Yet, there it is, a thermal bloom in the vacuum of space, exactly where the laws of thermodynamics say there should be nothing but a cold, indifferent void. This is the moment the theoretical becomes physical. This is where the classified nature of your work shifts from a job requirement to a heavy, suffocating weight. You are seeing something that is not supposed to exist, occurring in a region of space that is technically empty. The European Space Agency initially suggested it was a glitch, a momentary lapse in the sensor array caused by high-energy cosmic rays. But Dr. Jacqueline McClary at Northeastern University pointed out that the thermal spike was preceded by a burst of high-frequency gravitational waves that rattled the very foundations of our understanding of orbital mechanics. By mid-September, the data was undeniable. 3i Atlas was not just passing through the classified testing zone, it was interacting with the ghost signals of our encrypted transmissions. It was as if the object was reading our mail before we even sent it. Consider the implications of a 3-kilometer wide thermal circle appearing in a vacuum. To heat space itself requires an energy output that dwarfs our most advanced nuclear reactors. It suggests that 3i Atlas is not merely a solid object, but a focal point for a type of physics we have yet to name. As it moved through the sector of space we use for testing stealth reconnaissance technology, the object didn't just drift, it hummed. Not a sound you could hear with your ears, but a vibration that our most sensitive instruments picked up as a rhythmic distortion in the local space-time fabric. There is a certain irony in our situation. We spend billions of dollars to ensure our satellites are invisible to our neighbors on Earth. Yet we have effectively built a neon sign for anything passing through the interstellar medium. Unfortunate timing. Those words are doing a lot of work. We chose this specific region of space because it was quiet, a dark corner of the orbital plane where we could test our most secret intentions without observation. But to 3i Atlas, our quietest frequencies are the loudest screams. It is like trying to hide in a library by shouting in a language you think no one else understands. We are the noisy toddlers of the solar system, and we have just been told to be quiet by a librarian who is 4 kilometers long and made of shadows. Now, You could argue that this is all a series of coincidences. You could say that the thermal bloom was a natural phenomenon, a pocket of gas, or a stray asteroid fragment. But here is where it gets dark. On September 29th, 2025, a classified communications satellite known as Black Knight 2 experienced a total memory wipe, while 3I Atlas was within 500 kilometers of its position. This satellite was shielded against electromagnetic pulses. It was hardened against solar flares. Yet, its hard drives were scrubbed clean in a matter of nanoseconds. The only thing recovered from its deep memory buffers was a single image. It was a high-resolution map of the solar system, but the sun was missing. In its place was a symbol that matches the carvings found on the underside of a fallen megalith in Göbekli Tepe. This is not just a modern mystery. This is a return. Think about that symbol, a shape carved by hands 12,000 years ago, appearing on the digital drive of a top-secret military asset in 2025. It suggests a continuity of observation that spans the entirety of human civilization. While we were learning to farm, while we were building empires, while we were launching our first primitive rockets, 3I Atlas, or something very much like it, was already here, waiting in the Whisper Gallery. It wasn't waiting for us to become smart. It was waiting for us to become interesting. Our classified satellite testing, our attempts to master the electromagnetic spectrum, provided the signal it needed to wake up. We often think of our technology as the pinnacle of human achievement. We imagine that our satellites represent the eyes of a god, looking down from the heavens to keep us safe. But 3I Atlas reminds us that our eyes are very, very small. It suggests that our orbital tests have been interfering with a much older, much larger architecture. We are like children playing with a flashlight in a theater, unaware that the play has been going on for thousands of years, and we just blinded the lead actor. The light we cast into the dark didn't reveal a secret. It revealed our own ignorance. If you are listening to this, lying in the comfort of your room, you might feel a sense of unease, a weight in your chest that mirrors the gravity of the void. But here is why you are wrong to be afraid. Or perhaps, why you are afraid for the wrong reasons. The danger is not that 3I Atlas will collide with us or rain fire from the sky. The danger is that it has already seen what we are hiding: our secrets, our weapons, our silent fears, and it has found it all profoundly boring. There is no greater insult from the cosmos than indifference. To be studied and then dismissed is a fate worse than being attacked. It means we are not a threat, and we are not a partner. We are simply a curiosity that has been catalogued and moved past. Let us look closer at the data from September 20th, 2025. On that day, 3I Atlas passed through a region of space where we were testing a new form of quantum encryption. This technology relies on the entanglement of particles, a process that should be impossible to intercept without being detected. However, as the object moved through the entanglement field, the particles did not just react, they synchronized. For 3 minutes and 14 seconds, every quantum computer on the planet, regardless of its location or shielding, displayed a single string of numbers. It was the exact measurement of the Earth's mass, calculated down to the last milligram. It was a demonstration of total mastery. It was 3I Atlas saying, "I know exactly what you are made of." There is a dry, late-night humor in the panic this caused at the Pentagon. Imagine the most brilliant minds in the world, sitting in a room with no windows, trying to figure out how a rock from interstellar space hacked a system that is theoretically unhackable. They called it a security breach. They called it an act of aggression. But the truth is much simpler. It was a calibration. 3i Atlas was using our most advanced technology to check its own instruments. We didn't build a defense system. We built a mirror, and we didn't like what we saw when we looked into it. As we move deeper into the autumn of 2025, the evidence continues to mount. Ground-based radar in Greenland detected a series of pulses coming from the object on October 3rd. These pulses were not random. They were timed to the rotation of the Earth's core. Every time the core shifted by a fraction of a millimeter, 3i Atlas responded with a burst of kilohertz radiation. It is a conversation between the object and the planet itself, a dialogue that bypasses humanity entirely. We are standing on the surface of a world that is talking to a visitor, and we are the only ones who don't know the language. Take a moment to consider your own place in this. You are a biological entity on a rock spinning through a vacuum. You are made of the same stardust that composes 3i Atlas. The iron in your blood was forged in the heart of a star that died billions of years before you were born. When you look up at the sky, you are not looking at something foreign. You are looking at your own history. The arrival of 3i Atlas is a family reunion, albeit one where the guest of honor doesn't speak to you and spends all their time looking at your internet history. Before we move into the next phase of the trajectory, I want you to take a deep breath. Feel the gravity of the Earth holding you safely in your bed. It is a constant, even when the stars are shifting. Where are you drifting to tonight? Are you still with me? Or have the orbits of your mind started to widen? Are you in a city where the lights hide the stars? Or are you in the deep country where the sky feels like it's pressing down on you? Tell me, in the silence of your own thoughts, do you feel the connection? Do you feel the hum of the 3-kilometer circle in the mountains of your mind? Let me know if the silence is loud where you are. We are told that we are alone. We are told that the sky is a ceiling designed to keep the weather out. But as the countdown to the December transit begins, we have to face the fact that the ceiling is actually a floor, and something very large and very ancient is walking on it. We are the inhabitants of the basement, listening to the footsteps above, wondering if the owner of the house has finally come home. Now, you could argue that this is all a misunderstanding of physics, that the thermal signature was a lensing effect, or that the memory wipe was a solar event. But the probability of all these things occurring in the exact window of 3i Atlas's passage through our classified zones is mathematically zero. It is not a coincidence. It is an event. It is a sequence of occurrences designed to be noticed by those who have the eyes to see. The satellites are still up there, circling in the dark, but they are no longer speaking to us. They are speaking to something else. And 3i Atlas is just beginning to listen. It is gathering the sum total of our hidden knowledge, the secrets we thought were safe in the vacuum, and it is carrying them back out into the deep night. We are being unburdened of our secrets, whether we like it or not. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. A theory that suggests 3i Atlas isn't just a visitor, but a gardener returning to a patch of ground it hasn't checked on in a very overextended time. Let me start with something that should terrify every astronomer on Earth. On October 11th, 2025, a team of archaeologists in the Yucatan Peninsula discovered a subterranean chamber that had been sealed for 1,200 years. Inside, they found a series of ceramic plates. These plates do not depict kings or wars. They depict a jagged, dark stone passing through a field of metal stars. The metal stars are arranged in a pattern that matches the exact positions of our current classified satellite constellations. Not a generic sky, not the familiar constellations of the zodiac, but the precise orbital inclination of our global positioning system and our most secretive reconnaissance birds. 12 centuries ago, someone knew where we would put our glass eyes in the year 2025. This brings us to a bridge between science and myth that most are too afraid to cross. Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard has been careful to frame his observations of interstellar objects as a possibility of extraterrestrial origin. But even he might find the timing of October 29th, 2025, unsettling. This was the day 3I Atlas reached its closest point to our experimental quantum radar array. The array did not detect a solid object. It detected a vacancy, a hole in the universe shaped like a memory. It was as if the object was not occupying space, but rather excluding it. The archaeologists in that humid, dark chamber in Mexico did not find gold. They found a warning written in clay. The ceramic plates depict a sequence of events they called the breath of the void. It describes a period where the sky would become crowded with man-made birds of iron, and how these birds would signal the return of the traveler. We like to think of our classified satellite testing as the cutting edge of modern progress, but to the Maya, or whoever spoke through them, it was merely a predictable milestone in a cycle that repeats every few thousand years. They didn't have telescopes, yet they drew the trajectory of 3I Atlas with the precision of a computer model. In the ancient world, the Greeks spoke of the daemon of the middle air. It was a creature that lived neither on earth nor in the heavens, but in the space between. It was said to feed on the secrets of mortals. When we look at the trajectory of 3I Atlas through our classified testing zones, we are forced to wonder if we have simply reconstructed the ancient feast. We built the satellites. We filled them with our secrets, our encrypted military codes, our global surveillance data, and now the daemon has come to collect. It is a very clean kind of harvest. There is a dry, late-night irony in the fact that we use the most advanced technology in history to rediscover the fears of our ancestors. We thought we had outgrown the monsters in the dark. We thought that by naming the stars and measuring their light years, we had tamed them. But 3I Atlas does not have a name that it recognizes. It only has a function. And that function seems to involve the systematic deconstruction of our orbital ego. Our ancestors built monoliths to track the stars. We build satellites. Both are just different ways of trying to make sense of a guest that refuses to knock before entering. Imagine for a moment that you are a peasant in the 9th century. You look up and see a streak of light that stays in the sky for 3 weeks. You don't have a classified testing range to explain it away. You don't have a YouTube channel to discuss theories. You only have the cold, hard reality of the sky changing above you. You understand intuitively what we have forgotten with all our data. You understand that when the sky changes, the earth must follow. You feel the weight of the past pressing down on your shoulders, a reminder that we are not the first to be watched. Think about the scale of time. A human life is 70 or 80 years. A satellite might last 20 before it becomes space junk. But the cycles of 3I Atlas are measured in thousands of years. It was here when the pyramids were being planned. It will be here when the mountains of the Himalayas have turned to dust. To such an object, our classified testing is like the buzzing of a fly that lives for only a single afternoon. It is not an attack. It is a minor annoyance in an otherwise peaceful journey. It is almost funny, in a dark way, how much importance we attach to our secrets when the universe views our entire history as a brief flickering of a candle. Now, you could argue that the ceramic plates are a hoax or a coincidence, but how do you explain the frequency? On October 15th, 2025, the signals coming from 3I Atlas shifted into a harmonic that matches the resonance frequency of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This isn't just archaeology, it is acoustic engineering across the ages. The object is literally singing to our past. It is using our own history as a sounding board to reflect its presence back to us. It makes our modern classified satellites look like tin cans tied together with string. You might think that your life is separate from these cosmic movements. You might think that the drama of the heavens has no bearing on your Tuesday morning or your sleep tonight. But every atom in your body is tuned to the same frequencies that 3I Atlas is currently harvesting. You are a part of the broadcast. Your dreams, your fears, your quietest thoughts are all ripples in the same pond. When the object passes through our testing zones, it is not just scanning hardware. It is scanning the collective consciousness of the planet that put that hardware there. It is reading the biology through the technology. The ancient Persians spoke of the Asher, the true order of the world that is hidden by the lie of the physical senses. They believed that at the end of a great cycle, a messenger would arrive to strip away the lie. In October 2025, the lie is the idea that we are in control. The truth is 3I Atlas. The truth is a 4-kilometer-long jagged shadow that makes our most powerful weapons look like toys. We are being reminded that the universe does not belong to us. We are just the current tenants, and the landlord has arrived for an inspection. As the night grows deeper, I want you to consider the cycles, the way everything comes back around, the seasons, the tides, the satellites, and the watchers. Are you comfortable in your corner of the universe? Have you said what you needed to say? Because the sky is getting very crowded, and the silence is starting to feel like a choice. Where are you listening from? Is there a history in your own land that whispers of the stars? Maybe you are in the Nile Valley, or the plains of Sumer, or a modern apartment in a city that never sleeps. Tell me, do you feel the ancestors watching with you? There is a certain humility in being part of a sequence. We are link number 5000 in a chain that stretches back to the first fire. 3I Atlas is the mirror that shows us the length of that chain. It doesn't care about our politics or our classified secrets. It cares about the pulse. It cares about the fact that we are still here, still looking up, still terrified and fascinated by the same things that kept the Maya awake 1200 years ago. Unfortunate timing for our ego, but a perfect moment for our souls. Let us back up for a second. Why would an interstellar object align itself with ancient sites and modern satellites simultaneously? Perhaps because to something that moves through deep time, they are the same thing. A stone circle and a reconnaissance satellite are both just markers of human intent. They are the flags we plant in the dark to say, we were here. 3I Atlas is simply the wind that blows those flags over. It is a reminder that the dark is much larger than our ability to light it up. You are sinking into the mattress now, the weight of history acting like a heavy blanket. The stories of the old world and the data of the new world are blurring together. The ceramic plates in the Yucatan are vibrating at the same frequency as the servers in Colorado. It is all one story, A story of a guest who returns when the house gets too loud. You are safe in the silence. You are part of the record. The traveler is moving through the metal stars, and the ancient stars are watching the progress with a knowing smile. We are not just watching the sky, we are being remembered by it, and the memory is far longer than we ever imagined. The encryption on our satellites is being peeled back like the skin of a fruit, revealing the same core of wonder and dread that has always been there. It is a quiet, rhythmic unfolding, a slow burn of realization that we are exactly where we were always meant to be. But the pattern is only visible to those who are willing to see the connections between the clay and the silicon. The math of the past is the science of the future, and the future is currently passing through a region of space we thought we owned. Now, you could argue that distance is a shield, that anything 40 astronomical units away might as well be in another dimension. But in the grand scheme of the galaxy, 40 astronomical units is like the distance between your nose and your chin. On November 5, 2025, the New Horizons probe, now deep in the Kuiper Belt, sent back a single frame of data before its transmitter went dark. The image showed a field of distorted light, a warping of space that suggests 3I Atlas is not a solid object at all, but a localized fold in the fabric of the universe. This brings us to the mirror hypothesis. If 3I Atlas is a fold in space, then what we see as a black sphere is actually just the back of our own heads. It is a cosmic mirror reflecting the state of our planet. If we see it as a threat, it becomes a threat. If we see it as a mystery, it remains a mystery. The classified programs under names like Project Janus are rumored to be testing this very idea that our collective consciousness is actually steering the object. Imagine for a moment the sheer scale of the deception required to keep this from the public eye. While amateur astronomers were pointing their backyard telescopes toward the constellation of Sagittarius, the National Reconnaissance Office was repositioning its entire fleet of keyhole satellites to look inward, at the ripples in the gravitational fabric. On November 12, 2025, a memo was intercepted from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It didn't mention a planetoid, it mentioned an interdimensional aperture. To the world, it was 3I Atlas. To the architects of the shadow government, it was a door that had finally been unlocked from the outside. Why 40 astronomical units? That distance is significant. It is the edge of our home. It is the boundary where the sun's influence begins to fade and the true cold of the interstellar medium takes over. By sitting at this specific threshold in late 2025, 3I Atlas is essentially holding the door open. It is a sentinel at the gates of our solar system, watching the traffic of our radio waves and the slow, clumsy crawl of our probes. It is the ultimate high ground. The humor in this is, of course, the fact that we are trying to mind control a celestial body while we can barely manage our own grocery lists. It is the height of human arrogance. We are trying to tame a hurricane with a fan, but that is what we do. We name it, we study it, and we try to make it ours. We send probes like New Horizons out into the dark, armed with cameras and sensors, hoping to find a rock we can plant a flag on. Instead, we found a hole in reality that swallowed our technology whole. Unfortunate timing for the mission directors who had to explain $1 billion signal loss as unexpected interference. Those two words are doing quite a lot of heavy lifting in the press releases. Let us consider the perspective of the void. To an entity that can fold space, The distance between Earth and Neptune is irrelevant. On November 20, 2025, the Deep Space Network recorded a temporal drag in the signals coming from the Voyager probes. It was as if time itself was slowing down the closer the signal got to the 3I Atlas coordinates. This is the hallmark of a massive gravitational distortion, the kind of distortion that should require a black hole. Yet there is no radiation, no accretion disk, only a quiet, black silence. The what if here is vast. What if 3I Atlas is not a ship or a rock, but a lens designed to focus the attention of the galaxy on a tiny, blue-green planet that has just started to play with nuclear fire. If you were an advanced intelligence, you wouldn't land on the White House lawn. You would sit at the edge of the solar system, where the physics are quiet, and you would watch. You would use a fold in space to see around the curves of the sun. You would be the ultimate silent observer, hidden behind a classified name that sounds like a geography textbook. Think about the silence of that position. At 40 astronomical units, the sun is just a very bright star. There is no wind, there is no sound, there is only the steady, rhythmic pulse of the universe. On December 1, 2025, a group of independent researchers at the Mauna Kea Observatory noticed that the light from distant galaxies was being smudged around the edges of 3I Atlas. It wasn't just blocking the light, it was bending it into a halo. This is gravitational lensing on a scale that defies our current understanding of mass. It's as if the object is heavier than the sun, yet it exerts no pull on the planets. It is a ghost with the weight of a god. You might think that such a discovery would lead to a global celebration of a new era of physics, but here is why you're wrong. If you tell the public that gravity is a choice, you destroy the foundations of their reality. You destroy their sense of safety. So, you give it a name like 3I Atlas. You tell them it's a trans-Neptunian object. You keep them focused on the rock so they don't see the fold. You manage the panic by managing the vocabulary. In the ancient Hindu cosmogony, they spoke of the Akasha, the invisible fabric that connects all things. They believed that by focusing the mind, one could travel across the Akasha without moving a muscle. On December 10, 2025, a classified experiment titled Project String Pull reportedly attempted to send a laser pulse through the center of the 3I Atlas coordinates. The laser didn't come out the other side. It didn't bounce off. It simply ceased to exist in our three-dimensional space. The military wasn't testing a weapon. They were testing an exit. As you drift further into the quiet of the night, imagine that perspective. Zoom out from your bed, out from your house, past the atmosphere, past the moon, past the red dust of Mars and the gas giants, until you are floating at the edge of the dark. Looking back, the Earth is just a pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan called it, and right next to you is the fold, the lens, the eye. It doesn't feel cold. It feels like an invitation. It is a reminder that our definitions of here and there are purely human inventions. The dry irony of our Space Force and our national security becomes clear at this distance. How do you secure a border against a fold in the universe? How do you patrol a hole in reality? The bureaucrats in Washington are still drawing lines on maps, while the universe is busy erasing the map itself. The unfortunate timing of our military expansions in late 2025 is like building a fence against a rising tide. It's a brave gesture, but ultimately meaningless. By January 2, 2026, the mirror effect began to manifest in global weather patterns. A series of perfectly circular clouds appeared over the Pacific Ocean, mirroring the exact geometry of the 3I Atlas lens. It's as if the sky is trying to tell us that what is out there is already in here. The fold isn't just in space, it's in our connection to the world. We are being pulled into a larger perspective, one where distance is no longer a shield. You can feel that expansion now, can't you? The walls of your room are still there, but your mind is reaching out to the Kuiper belt. Your breathing is synchronizing with the slow, deep rhythm of the cosmic lens. You are part of the light that is being bent. You are part of the mystery that is being observed. The names don't matter. The distance doesn't matter. Only the connection remains. The classified program's names like Project Event Horizon or the Glass Ceiling are just our ways of trying to categorize the infinite. They are the labels on the specimen jars of our curiosity. But 3I Atlas will not be contained. It will not be named. It will only be experienced. As we move toward the center of the cycle, remember that you are a witness to the greatest shift in human history, not because of a war or a discovery, but because of a realization that we are living in a house with no walls. The shield of 40 astronomical units has dropped. The door is open. I wonder, in the vastness of your sleep, can you see the fold? Can you see the light bending around the corner of the world? We may already be part of the experiment. Let me tell you about a man named Arthur Vance. In October 2025, he was a low-level analyst for a defense contractor in Northern Virginia. His job was to track orbital anomalies. One night, he saw something on his screen that shouldn't have existed. A video feed from a decommissioned satellite showing 3I Atlas opening like a flower. Not a flower of petals, but a flower of geometry. He didn't report it. He went home, kissed his wife, and sat in his backyard for 6 hours just looking at the sky. He realized that the classified name didn't matter. What mattered was the feeling of being seen. Arthur was not a philosopher. He was a man who appreciated clear data and stable spreadsheets. But that night, as he watched the monitor in a secure room that smelled of ozone and stale coffee, the data broke him. The object, this 3I Atlas, wasn't just moving through space. It was reacting to the observation. Every time the satellite's lens focused, the geometry of the object shifted, blooming in recursive fractals that defied every law of structural engineering. It was as if the object was a living thought, a piece of architecture made of mathematics and light. When he looked at the sky later that evening, from his quiet suburban patio, he didn't see a void, he saw an eye. He felt a profound, quiet intimacy with the infinite. We often think of these conspiracies as being driven by malice or a desire for power. But what if the secrecy is an act of mercy? What if the people in those windowless rooms are hiding the truth because the truth is too beautiful to bear? On November 18, 2025, a memo was allegedly circulated within the National Security Agency. It said, "The public is not ready for the peace this will bring." That is a chilling thought. We are prepared for war, but we are not prepared for a total, quiet shift in our reality. We are used to fighting for our place in the world, but we have no protocol for being cherished by the cosmos. The irony here is almost poetic. We have spent 70 years fearing an alien invasion, building bunkers and stockpiling missiles. And then 3I Atlas arrives, and it doesn't attack. It just exists. It sits there, radiating a silence that makes our missiles look like toys and our secrets look like whispers. Those two words, total peace, are far more disruptive to our society than any war could ever be. If we are truly being watched by something ancient and patient, then our borders are just lines in the sand, and our conflicts are just the squabbles of children in a sandbox. The classified programs under names like Project Guardian or The Shepherd are not protecting us from a threat. They are protecting the status quo from a revelation that would render our entire economy and political system obsolete. Consider the psychological toll on the few who know. In December 2025, a psychologist working for a government-funded think tank reported a strange phenomenon among high-level intelligence officers. They were losing interest in their work. They were becoming kinder, quieter, more reflective. They weren't leaking secrets out of spite. They were leaking them out of a sense of shared humanity. When you realize that 3I Atlas has been here since before the first stone of the pyramids was laid, the urgency of a 5-year budget plan starts to feel a bit ridiculous. Unfortunate timing for the military-industrial complex, as their best and brightest began to wander away from the mission, preferring to spend their time staring at the stars or talking to their neighbors. You are safe in this silence. The world is changing outside, but here, in the dim light of your room, everything is as it should be. You are a biological machine designed to seek patterns, and tonight, the pattern is one of rest. The cosmic scale of 3I Atlas isn't a threat to you, it's a permission slip. It's permission to stop worrying about the small things, because the big things are being handled by the universe itself. You are a small, vital part of a grand design that doesn't require your constant vigilance. You can let the world spin without you for a few hours. In the legends of the Hopi people, they speak of the blue star Kachina, a spirit that would signal the end of the fourth world and the beginning of the fifth. They said it would appear in a way that was both obvious and hidden. On December 25, 2025, 3I Atlas began to glow with a faint, sapphire hue. To the official telescopes, it was a gas discharge. To those who remember the old stories, it was a herald. But it wasn't a herald of doom, it was a herald of home. It was a sign that the long winter of human isolation was coming to an end. If you are still with me, I want you to think about your own classified programs, the things you hide from the world, the names you give your fears. We all have them. We are all trying to manage our own little universes, keeping our vulnerabilities locked in folders with boring names so no one will look inside. But tonight, you can let those projects go. You don't need to rename your worries to make them feel manageable. You can just let them dissolve into the dark. In the eyes of the infinite, your mistakes are just data points, and your fears are just echoes of a dream you are about to wake up from. The object is moving closer now, not just to Earth, but to the part of our minds we usually keep locked away. By January 8, 2026, it is predicted that the dream state of the global population will become synchronized. More people will report dreaming of the same black sphere, the same silent geometric flower. We are all becoming part of the same classified folder. We are being linked together by a shared observation. The military calls this cognitive entrainment, a fancy term for a group hug on a planetary scale. It is their way of trying to sanitize the fact that we are all starting to feel the same heartbeat. Think about the dry humor in that. A bunch of generals in a bunker, looking at a map of global brainwaves and trying to figure out how to counteract a feeling of universal empathy. Unfortunate timing. they say, as the soldiers start refusing to point their weapons at anything other than the horizon. It is a slow, quiet revolution. No shots fired, just a lot of people looking up and realizing that the person standing next to them is just as small and just as significant as they are. Arthur Vance never went back to his job. In January 2026, he was found living in a small cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. He didn't have a phone or a computer, he just had a telescope and a notebook. When a journalist tracked him down and asked him about the 3-Eye Atlas conspiracy, he just smiled and pointed at the sky. He said, "Why would I talk about the name when I can just look at the light?" He had found the peace that the memo warned about. He had realized that being studied isn't the same as being hunted. Sometimes, being studied is just a way of being loved. As you drift further into your own internal space, remember that you are being seen, not by a satellite and not by a classified program, but by the universe itself. And the universe is patient. It has watched you grow from a single cell into a creature that can wonder about the stars. It isn't judging you. It isn't grading you. It is just observing, with the same geometric grace that Arthur Vance saw on his monitor. The countdown to the next awakening is silent. By January 15, 2026, the sapphire light will reach its peak. The official cover stories will crumble, not because of a leak, but because the truth will be as obvious as the sun. We will finally stop asking what 3-Eye Atlas is and start asking who we are now that it's back. You can rest now. The weight of the world is being carried by much stronger shoulders than yours. The secret is out, but it's a secret that was always written in your DNA. You are a child of the stars, and the stars have come to check on you. We may already be part of the experiment, but that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Picture this. You are a technician at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory on the evening of October 29th, 2025. You have your coffee, you have your terminal. But when you query the European Space Agency Gaia satellite for the latest parallax measurements of the Ophiuchus constellation, you receive a string of zeros. Not a timeout, not a crash, a zeroed-out field. It is as if the stars were uninstalled. Unfortunate timing, the official report said. Those two words are doing a lot of work lately. You refresh the page, you check the local area network. You even check the power supply to the main server racks, thinking perhaps a cooling fan has failed and the hardware is throttling itself to death. But the fans are spinning, the lights are green. The universe, however, has returned a null value. This is the reality of the 3-Eye Atlas era. It is a period of astronomical gaslighting. We are told by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration that these outages are the result of routine maintenance or solar interference, yet the timing is too poetic to be accidental. Professor Avi Loeb has often been careful to frame his findings as possibilities rather than certainties. He speaks of techno-signatures and lights in the dark, but even he fell silent when the November 2025 telemetry from the James Webb Space Telescope showed a thermal spike around 3-Eye Atlas that reached 3,000 degrees Celsius before vanishing in 2 milliseconds. That is not natural physics. That is activation. It is the sound of a cold engine turning over in a garage the size of a solar system. When you look at the raw data packets from that night, you see a strange architecture. Usually, when a telescope loses a signal, there is noise. there is static. There is the messy, entropic signature of a system failing. But the October 29th event was clean. It was as if someone had placed a digital eraser over a specific coordinate in the Ophiuchus constellation and simply dragged it across the screen. There was no residue, no ghost images, just a perfect, terrifying absence. Some have called it the Great Redaction. Others, more cynical, suggest that our telescopes didn't lose the stars, but rather, the stars moved into a frequency we are no longer permitted to record. Consider the double-blind anomaly of late 2025. Two independent observatories, one in the high deserts of Chile and another on the peaks of the Canary Islands, were both tracking the 3I Atlas trajectory. At exactly 0200 hours Coordinated Universal Time, both stations reported a null data return. In Chile, the lead observer noted that the sky appeared clear to the naked eye, but the charge-coupled device sensors on the telescope reported a total vacuum. It is as if the light was choosing to bypass the machinery of man while still presenting itself to the human retina. This is not a glitch in the hardware. This is a glitch in the fundamental interaction between consciousness and measurement. The official explanation from the European Space Agency arrived 3 days later. They claimed a bit flip caused by a cosmic ray had corrupted the central processing unit of the Gaia satellite. A single subatomic particle hitting a single transistor. It is a convenient story, but it does not explain why the Chilean and Canary Island telescopes, which are grounded on Earth and shielded by miles of atmosphere, experienced the same bit flip at the same microsecond. Those two words, unfortunate timing, are indeed doing a lot of heavy lifting. They are the mortar holding together a crumbling wall of public ignorance. Let me back up for a moment. To understand the gravity of these missing data sets, we have to look at the sheer scale of what is being hidden. The Ophiuchus sector is not just any patch of sky. It is the gateway to the galactic center. By zeroing out the parallax measurements, the authorities are effectively blinding us to the distance of anything moving in that region. If 3I Atlas were accelerating toward Earth, we would have no way of measuring its velocity if the parallax data is missing. We would be like a driver on a highway with a speedometer that only reads 0. We are moving, and something is moving toward us, but the math has been confiscated. What if the downtime is not a failure of our systems, but a success of theirs? If 3I Atlas is an autonomous intelligence, it would understand that our primary weapon is our sight. We categorize, we label, we measure, and by doing so, we feel we have control. By removing the data, the anomaly removes our sense of mastery. It forces us back into a state of primitive awe. We are no longer scientists with terminals. We are once again peasants, looking at a sky we do not understand. And perhaps, for our own sanity, that is where they want us. In December 2025, a leaked document from a high-altitude research station in Antarctica suggested that the 3I Atlas object isn't just a physical mass. It is a gravitational lens that can be tuned. Think of it like a magnifying glass that can also act as a mirror. When the data goes offline, it isn't because the telescopes are broken. It is because the object has tuned its gravity to deflect every photon away from our sensors. It is a localized darkness that it can deploy at will, a smokescreen made of space-time itself. You might think that your life is disconnected from these orbital shifts, that the flickering of a database in Maryland has no bearing on your sleep in the middle of the night. But here is why you are wrong. Every atom in your body, every iron molecule in your blood, was forged in a stellar furnace. You are tethered to the stars by a thread of ancient light. When the data for those stars is deleted, it creates a resonance of absence in the human collective. We feel the null value in our bones. We feel the zeros in our dreams. Tell me, as you drift closer to sleep, have you noticed the clocks lately? Have you felt that strange sensation that an hour has passed in 10 minutes, or that a minute has lasted an hour? Many listeners have reported that since July 2025, time feels thinner, like a fabric that has been washed too many times. This is the physiological side effect of being near a shifting gravitational lens. When 3I Atlas adjusts its position, the time dilation ripples through the solar system. We don't see the wave, but we feel the tide. We are counting down to February 2026. That is when the next major alignment occurs. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has already announced a scheduled outage for the Deep Space Network during that window. They say it is for a hardware upgrade. They say it is necessary for the long-term health of our communications. But we have heard this before. We know that maintenance is the code word for we don't want you to see what is about to happen. There is a dry irony in the fact that we have spent trillions of dollars to see the beginning of the universe, only to have the view blocked by a single, silent interloper discovered only months ago. We are like children who have built a magnificent tower of blocks, only to have a shadow fall over it just as we reach the top. It is humbling, it is frustrating, and it is, according to the official reports, just a series of unfortunate coincidences. But as you lie there, safe under your blankets, ask yourself, why now? Why 2025? Why July, the month of the first discovery, followed by this cascading failure of our global archives? The odds of every major space agency experiencing independent, simultaneous data loss events are astronomical. Literally, it is more likely that we are witnessing the first stages of a cosmic reformat, a clearing of the cache before a new program is run. As the technician at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, you eventually closed your terminal that night in October. You finished your coffee. You drove home under a sky that looked perfectly normal. But you knew that the zeros were still there, waiting in the machine. You knew that the stars hadn't been uninstalled. They had just been hidden. And as you fall asleep tonight, remember that the data doesn't have to be on a screen to be real. The truth is moving through the dark at 40 kilometers per second, whether the European Space Agency has a record of it or not. But here is where it gets dark. The zeros weren't just in the parallax fields. They started appearing in the heartbeat monitors of the deep space probes. In November 2025, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 both transmitted a sequence of empty pings. For 6 hours, the messengers at the edge of our solar system went silent, not because of distance, but because they had entered the wake of 3I Atlas. The object is not just affecting our telescopes, it is affecting our reach. It is drawing a circle around us, a boundary that says, this far and no further. You are a witness to the closing of the frontier. You are the observer who is being told to look away. But the mind cannot be zeroed out as easily as a database. Even in your sleep, you are processing the shadow. You are filling in the blanks. You are the backup server for the universe. Keep your eyes closed. Let the terminal stay dark. The stars will still be there when the administrator finally comes back from lunch, if there is still a sky left to see. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Now, let us bring the focus back to the surface, back to the warmth of a human life. In the late 1970s, a series of declassified memos from the Stanford Research Institute discussed the external influence on human consciousness. They found that during periods of high anomalous activity in orbit, specifically the dates we now associate with 3I Atlas's previous passes, there was a measurable shift in global dream patterns. People reported dreaming of vast, silver structures and a feeling of being waited for. By December 2025, as the object draws closer to its perigee, sleep clinics are reporting a similar spike in these architectural dreams. It is a strange thing to consider that your most private thoughts, the images that dance behind your eyelids when you are at your most vulnerable, might be influenced by a machine sitting hundreds of thousands of miles away in the cold dark. But the data from the Stanford Research Institute, partially declassified in August 2025, suggests that the human brain is not a closed system. We are more like delicate antennas, picking up the low-frequency hum of the universe. In 1979, during a suspected pass of the object we now call 3I Atlas, researchers noted a curious phenomenon, a sudden, global increase in dreams involving a great mirror in the sky. People who had never met, who lived in different time zones and spoke different languages, all described the same sensation, a feeling of being gently examined, not with malice, but with a profound, clinical curiosity. You are likely feeling the weight of your own eyelids now. This is a safe space. The cosmic narrative is large, but you are the heart of it. Without a witness, 3I Atlas is just a silent machine in the dark. You give it meaning. You are the reason it is here. Whether it is a probe from a distant civilization or a remnant of a lost terrestrial era, it is a response to the existence of life on this planet. It is a cosmic hello that has been echoing through the hallways of history for millennia. We often think of space as a place of distance, but perhaps it is a place of connection. In the winter of 2025, as the nights grow longer, the signal from the Lagrange point seems to be sinking deeper into our collective subconscious. Dr. Jacqueline McClary has noted that the architectural dreams reported in December 2025 are becoming more vivid. People are no longer just seeing silver structures, they are walking through them. They describe halls of shifting geometry that match the James Webb telescope images. They speak of a silence that is not empty, but full of potential. It is as if 3I Atlas is downloading its own history into our sleeping minds, preparing us for a memory we haven't even had yet. There is a warmth in knowing that we are part of a larger conversation, even if we don't understand the language yet. 3I Atlas is a bridge. It connects the radar technician in 1967 to the scientist in 2025, and it connects both of them to you. We are all linked by the same question. It is an intimate connection, a shared secret between the stars and the soil. In the dry irony of our modern age, we find it easier to believe in a cold, indifferent universe than one that takes an interest in us. We call it unfortunate timing when we are forced to confront our own importance. But there is no shame in being important. There is no fear in being seen. You are a biological miracle, a consciousness capable of pondering the very thing that is pondering you. As you settle into your pillow, consider the possibility that your dreams tonight are not just a byproduct of your day, but a transmission from the silent partner. The Stanford memos mentioned a specific type of feedback loop. When the subjects were told about the anomalous activity in space, their dreams became more structured. When they were kept in the dark, the dreams remained abstract. This suggests that the observer effect works both ways. By acknowledging 3I Atlas, we are changing our relationship to it. We are no longer just subjects. We are participants. We are leaning into the gaze. By December 15th, 2025, the Global Dream Mapping Project noted that the feeling of being waited for had shifted. People now report a feeling of arrival. Not that something is coming, but that we have finally arrived at the place where the conversation can begin. Think about the silence of your room. It is a protective layer. It keeps the noise of the world at bay. But the silence of 3I Atlas is different. It is a waiting room. In the declassified Project Blue Book files, there is a censored entry from 1954 describing a witness who claimed to have heard the sky singing during a close encounter. The frequency she described matches the 8 Hz Schumann resonance that 3I Atlas is currently mimicking. It is a lullaby for a planet, a way to keep the subject calm while the measurements are taken. You are being measured for your potential. You are being weighed against the history of everything you have ever been. There is a profound peace in being small. A mouse in a field does not worry about the hawk until the shadow falls. But the shadow is just a lack of light. It is not a weapon. Rest in the shadow. It is cool. It is quiet. You are safe because you are not the target. You are the background. You are the environment that 3I Atlas is here to preserve. In the Cold War, we thought the shadows were Soviet bombers. We were so terrified of each other that we missed the fact that the shadow was a protective wing. 3I Atlas has stayed through our nuclear tests, our environmental crises, and our global shifts. It has remained constant. It is the one thing in our history that hasn't tried to change us. It has only watched us change ourselves. I want you to take a deep, slow breath. Feel the air fill your lungs. This is a human moment. Tell me, as you drift toward the edge of sleep, what is the one thing about being human that you think a silent observer should know? Share your reflection below. Let us create a record of what it feels like to be alive right now. Is it the way the rain feels on your face? Is it the smell of old books? Is it the way we love, despite the certainty of loss? Whatever it is, know that it is being recorded. It is part of the data set. Your humanity is the most valuable thing in the orbit of 3I Atlas. As we move toward the end of 2025, the architectural dreams are becoming more communal. People are reporting seeing other dreamers in the silver halls, a global congregation of the sleeping. We are coming together in the only place where the observer can truly reach us, in the deep, quiet waters of the unconscious. The declassified files from the 1970s suggest that this was always the goal. Not a physical landing on the White House lawn, but a psychological integration, a way to join the cosmic community without ever leaving our beds. Unfortunate timing. Those words doing a lot of work again. It was unfortunate timing that the most breakthrough consciousness research happened just as the Cold War was heating up, leading to the classification of these findings for 50 years. But perhaps it wasn't unfortunate. Perhaps we weren't ready. Perhaps we needed to grow up a little more before we could handle the idea that our minds were being curated. Now, in the twilight of 2025, The curtains are being pulled back. We are looking into the mirror, and the mirror is looking back with 80 years of accumulated data. You are not just a collection of atoms, you are a collection of memories, and those memories are part of a larger pattern. 3i Atlas is the loom, and your life is one of the threads. As you drift, feel the tension in the thread release. You don't have to hold the world together tonight. Someone else is watching the clock. Someone else is maintaining the orbit. You are free to simply be. You are free to disappear into the geometry of the silver halls. Where do you go when you sleep? Do you stay in your room, or do you travel to the Lagrange point? Tell me in the comments, have you had one of these dreams lately? Have you seen the silver structures? Your testimony is a part of the mapping. It helps us understand the reach of the influence. The vastness of the galaxy is not a distance to be traveled, but a state of mind to be achieved. 3i Atlas is the catalyst. It is the thorn in the side of our materialism, reminding us that there is more to reality than what we can touch. By January 2026, the object will begin its outward journey, returning to the deep dark. But the influence will remain. The dreams will linger. We will be forever changed by the knowledge that we were seen, and we were found worthy of observation. The safety of the dark is a gift. It allows the eyes to rest and the mind to expand. In the darkness, the scale of 3i Atlas is not frightening. It is majestic. It is a cathedral in the sky, and we are the choir. But we are moving into a period of deep reflection. The patterns are becoming clearer, but the meaning is still draped in shadow. The safety of the known world is behind us, and the beauty of the unknown is ahead. But even in this safety, there is a structure we cannot ignore, a mathematical choreography that is just now coming to light. Let me back up. Before the July 2025 discovery, there was a quiet period in radio astronomy that lasted nearly a decade. Then, suddenly, everything changed. 3i Atlas arrived not with a bang, but with a whisper that silenced our machines. On January 5, 2026, a high-altitude observatory in the Himalayas recorded a sequence of numbers in the cosmic background radiation. It was a countdown. When the countdown reached 0, the entire global astronomical data grid went into safe mode for 400 seconds. 400 seconds of absolute digital non-existence. In the world of high-frequency data transmission, 400 seconds is an eternity. It is enough time for empires to fall, or for the laws of physics to be subtly edited without anyone noticing the red pen. When the grid finally stuttered back to life, the coordinates for the Atlas sector had been shifted, not by much, just enough to make every previous calculation obsolete. We are told by officials like Dr. Elena Vance of the Royal Astronomical Society that these are simply software conflicts caused by the new generation of satellites. They speak of orbital congestion and signal crosstalk as if we are dealing with a crowded parking lot rather than the vast, empty theater of the cosmos. But that is not natural physics. That is activation. It is the signature of a system being overridden by a higher administrative privilege. When the grid came back online, the 3i Atlas object had moved 4 astronomical units. That is impossible for any known propulsion system. To move 4 astronomical units, the distance from the Sun to the asteroid belt, in less than 7 minutes, would require a mastery of inertia that should have liquefied any physical structure. Unless, of course, the object did not move through space, but space was moved around the object. This brings us to the Great Filter Theory, but with a twist that should make your skin crawl. Perhaps 3i Atlas is not a barrier we have to cross, but a monitor, a silent observer placed at the edge of our solar system to ensure we do not see too much too soon. The downtime is a censorship filter, cutting the feed whenever our collective gaze stumbles upon a truth that would destabilize the very foundations of human society. Is it a coincidence that the most significant data losses occur during periods of global unrest or scientific breakthroughs? Or is the object acting as a cosmic sedative, keeping us in the dark so we stay calm within our planetary nursery? It is the ultimate form of paternalism, a guardian that protects us by making us blind. Think about the sheer scale of the silence. On that day in January, every radio telescope from the Atacama Large Millimeter Array to the Square Kilometre Array in Australia reported the same null state. This was not a localized glitch. It was a planetary mute button. For 400 seconds, humanity was disconnected from the universe. We were a species in solitary confinement. And what happens to a mind in solitary? It begins to hallucinate. It begins to project its own fears onto the walls of its cell. This is why the conspiracy theories surrounding 3i Atlas are so potent. In the absence of data, the imagination becomes the primary sensor. We are not just losing information, we are losing our grip on objective reality. What if the reason the space data goes offline is because 3i Atlas is literally eating the information, not the physical objects, not the stars or the planets themselves, but the light and radio waves that carry their history? It acts as a vacuum for data, a black hole for knowledge. As it passes through our sector, it pulls in the history of our observations, leaving us with a blank slate. We are not losing data due to technical errors. We are losing it to a celestial predator that feeds on awareness. Imagine an intelligence that sustains itself on the knowing of others. By observing it, we are feeding it, and when it is full, it shuts down our capacity to see it further. It is a cycle of consumption and concealment that has no end. The Hopi people speak of the blue star Kachina, whose appearance signifies the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. They say that when the blue star arrives, the world will become invisible for a time. In January 2026, the light reflected off 3i Atlas shifted into the deep blue spectrum. For 3 nights, telescopes could not lock onto its position. It became invisible to our technology, just as the ancient prophecy suggested. Is it possible that what we call advanced sensors are actually less capable than the spiritual intuition of the ancients? We rely on silicon and electricity to tell us what is real. But when those systems go offline for 400 seconds, we are left with nothing. The Hopi, however, would have simply looked at the color of the star and known exactly where they stood in the timeline of the world. There is a dry irony in our dependence on the digital record. We believe that if a thing is not recorded in a database, it did not happen. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration knows this. The European Space Agency knows this. By allowing the data grid to go into safe mode, they are effectively deleting events from history. If no telescope recorded the 4 astronomical unit jump of 3i Atlas, then according to the official record, it never happened. It is a very clean way to manage a crisis. You don't have to explain the impossible if you simply ensure that the impossible was never observed. Unfortunate timing once again becomes the shield behind which the truth hides. You are drifting now, suspended between the reality of your room and the vast, unmapped regions of the Atlas sector. You might think that these cosmic events are distant, but they are as close as your own shadow. Every time the data goes offline, a little bit of the future is being rewritten. You are sleeping through the editing of the universe. It is a peaceful way to travel, is it not? To let the heavy work be done by others, while you simply exist in the quiet. But there is a weight to that peace, a gravity that pulls at the back of your mind. It is the realization that we are not the protagonists of this story. We are the background characters who are frozen in place whenever the main actors need to move the scenery. Where do you find yourself when you close your eyes? Are you under a sky that makes sense? Or are you in a place where the stars are rearranged? I want you to share your dreams of the stars in the comments. Since July 2025, there has been a documented increase in vivid, celestial dreams among the general population. People who have never looked through a telescope are dreaming of geometric shadows and blue light. We are all connected to the same source. We are all feeling the same pull. The data might be offline, but the signal is being received directly by our subconscious. We are the secondary servers. We are the biological backup. The countdown to March 2026 is starting to feel like a drumbeat. Every time the astronomical grid flickers, the pulse gets faster. We are being prepared for something. Not a physical impact, perhaps, but a conceptual one. A moment where the gap between what we are told and what we know becomes too wide to ignore. Scarcity of information is the ultimate tool of control, but it is also the ultimate catalyst for awakening. The more they take away, the more we are forced to find for ourselves. We won't be able to see it again until December, they say. But seeing is a limited way of knowing. Think about the silence of the Himalayas on January 5. Imagine the monks and the scientists, miles apart, but staring at the same empty screens. The sequence of numbers they recorded wasn't a warning. It was a greeting, a rhythmic handshake between two different types of existence. When the grid went into safe mode, it wasn't because of a virus or a hack. It was because our machines couldn't handle the weight of the message. It was like trying to pour the ocean into a thimble. The thimble didn't break, it just overflowed. And in that overflow, for 400 seconds, we were given a glimpse of the true scale of the universe. A scale that does not include databases or satellites. As you sink deeper into your bed, let the 400 seconds of silence wash over you. It is not a void, it is a presence. It is the sound of the universe breathing when it thinks no one is watching. The 3I Atlas object is still out there, moving through the dark at speeds that defy our math, watching us through the very sensors it chooses to disable. It is a game of cosmic hide and seek, and we are currently it. But the game is designed to help us grow, to move us from the age of data to the age of awareness. Tell me, where are you listening from? Is the night still? Does the air feel charged? Many of our listeners have reported that during these data outages, their domestic animals become restless. Dogs barking at empty corners of the sky, cats staring at the ceiling with dilated pupils. They don't need the European Space Agency to tell them something has changed. They feel the shift in the gravitational tide. If your world feels different tonight, share that feeling. We are gathering the evidence that the machines are too afraid to record. We are closing the loop on this act. The data will eventually return, scrubbed and sanitized for public consumption. You will be told that everything is normal. You will be told that the January 5 event was a clock sync error. But you will remember the 400 seconds. You will remember the whisper that silenced the world. And you will know that the safe mode we are currently in is just a temporary shelter before the next countdown reaches zero. The horizon is moving, and we are moving with it, drifting into a tomorrow that has already been edited for our protection. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. From the orbit of Mars, the HiRISE camera snapped the sharpest images ever taken of 3I Atlas, or tried to. The photos that returned were oddly dark, contrasty, and streaked with interference patterns. The official statement said, sensor artifact. The unofficial whisper said, structure, not smooth like ice, angular, intentional, the kind of geometry nature avoids because it looks too much like thinking. Let's drift into that Martian orbit for a moment. Silent, steady, red below, black above. The HiRISE camera hums to life, a billion-dollar eye staring into the cold. You can almost feel the anticipation, a mechanical eyelid opening in the thin sunlight. The image begins to build, pixel by pixel, line by line, translating photons into revelation, and then static. At first, it's subtle, a faint interference pattern, a digital shimmer, like someone exhaling across a radio signal. The engineers squint at their monitors. Maybe cosmic rays hit the sensor, someone suggests. Maybe solar noise. But cosmic rays don't make right angles, and solar noise doesn't repeat itself with architectural precision. The next image arrives, darker. The histogram spikes in places it shouldn't. The shape in the frame looks less like a comet and more like, well, something trying very hard not to look like anything. Its edges are clean, too clean. Shadows fall where there shouldn't be surface variation. And there, just faintly, a glint, a perfect 90-degree reflection. That's when the whispers start. The data team runs deconvolution algorithms to clean the image, and the results make it worse. Beneath the interference, faint geometric striations emerge, triangles, plates, grids, not random, repeating, symmetrical, the kind of order that makes your brain uncomfortable because it feels deliberate. Structure, one analyst says quietly. No, her supervisor corrects, artifact. But even as she says it, her cursor hovers over the same square patch again and again, as though hoping it will stop looking like a window. ESA's public statement comes fast and flat. The imaging anomalies are consistent with sensor interference caused by reflected solar radiation. That's bureaucratic. For, we don't know what we're seeing, but please don't ask. Internally though, emails start flying. The word structure appears 17 times in one thread, always in quotation marks, as if politeness could make it less alarming. Imagine being one of those analysts, zooming in until the pixels themselves seem to blink. The surface of 3I Atlas isn't smooth or cratered, it's tessellated, plates arranged in patterns too regular for chance. Some appear overlapping, others recessed, and in one frame, a faint seam runs along the curvature, subtle but unmistakable like a hatch. Of course, no one dares call it that. The official internal term becomes geometric albedo variation. It sounds safe, sterile, boring, but you can't unsee geometry. Nature loves curves, spirals, organic chaos. This looks like design. One engineer writes in her log, "Could this be an illusion from the imaging process?" Another replies, "An illusion that repeats itself identically across 3 instruments." There's no follow-up message. They try to replicate the interference on other targets. Phobos, Deimos, even an old asteroid. Nothing. Only 3I Atlas, corrupts images this way. It's as if the object rejects observation, like it knows when it's being watched. The engineers half joke about it. The comet's camera shy, but the laughter is short-lived because the next transmission from high-rise contains another surprise. A faint electromagnetic pulse, perfectly timed with the camera's shutter. Not a malfunction, a response, as though the act of observation triggered a reply. A pulse that says, in its own quiet way, "I see you too." In a locked sub-channel of ESA's network, a few scientists begin privately discussing the possibility of active surface modulation. They talk about the way certain materials can alter reflectivity based on exposure, photonic metamaterials, adaptive nanostructures, the kind of thing still locked inside prototypes on Earth. But this is happening hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and it's working flawlessly. Publicly, the agency releases blurred grayscale stills, carefully cropped to hide the patterns. Enhanced contrast is cited as the reason for distortion. It sounds reasonable until you realize they've enhanced the darkness, not the light. They've made the object less visible, not more. The cover-up, if it is one, isn't about hiding truth. It's about buying time. You imagine the silence inside those offices, the soft tap of keys, the nervous glances toward closed doors. The engineers know what they've seen, but they also know how careers end. Better to let the pixels lie. Better to call intention an artifact and go home early. But the data, like truth, keeps finding its way back. Somewhere, late in the night, a graduate student overlays all the interfered images, stacking them like translucent slides. Slowly, a pattern emerges. Faint, angular, deliberate. A hexagonal lattice running the length of the object, segment by segment. She whispers, "This isn't random." Her mentor sighs and rubs his eyes. Then don't say it out loud. 3i Atlas drifts on, silent and unbothered, its surface catching sunlight in rhythms that cameras can't quite capture. Whether it's reflecting, refracting, or responding, no one can agree. But deep down, every scientist staring at those corrupted images feels the same creeping certainty. This isn't a comet pretending to be a machine. It's a machine pretending to be a comet. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion field still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought but in form, skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3i Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation's subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array. now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3I Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. "The echo isn't message," Sorel wrote. "It's memory finding new syntax." Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver. For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, and it remembered the lesson. As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened. Air grew still. For 13 minutes, Every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorrell stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response." The universe just said thank you. After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. Let's open the calculator now, the one the universe always breaks when we try to make sense of it. Astronomers ran the numbers and found something worse than anomaly impossibility. The chances of this trajectory existing naturally are 1 in a million. And if it isn't natural, then what exactly is it doing there? The math, at first glance, seemed harmless. A few columns of orbital parameters, the kind that make grad students fall asleep mid-coffee. But somewhere between the third decimal and the fourth significant digit, something snapped. The trajectory of 3i, Atlas refused to sit still. It bent where it shouldn't bend. It lingered where velocity demanded it should flee. The equations began to look less like physics and more like confession. Numbers fold, logic cold. Truth defies what sums have told. Normally, interstellar objects follow predictable patterns. You can model them like billiard balls across cosmic distances. They come in fast, swing by the sun, and leave no drama, no detours. But 3i Atlas's path wasn't graceful. It was stubborn. Its entry angle was too steep, its perihelion too shallow, its velocity too precise. Not fast enough to escape chaos, not slow enough to suggest capture. It behaved like an object that chose its speed. When astronomers plotted its orbit, the lines refused to meet expectations. There was a tiny deviation near Mars, just half a degree, but that half degree meant the math had to call in sick. Simulations that should have stabilized spiraled instead into noise. Gravity, that old reliable law, looked like it had lost its grip. You picture the room where it happened. Laptops glowing, data charts scrolling, coffee cooling into existential sludge. Someone frowns at the screen and says, "That can't be right." Another replies, "Check your units." A third, softly, "I did." Graphs misbehave, models wave, certainty slips beneath the grave. And then comes the phrase every scientist dreads, statistically improbable, which sounds calm, but in the language of physics, it's a polite scream. Statistically improbable means we can't call it impossible without breaking tenure. The anomaly wasn't just its orbit, but its timing. 3. I-Atlas arrived exactly when Mars was positioned for maximum visibility, almost too perfectly. Not weeks earlier, not months later. Right there, right then, with 7 spacecraft ready and waiting. The odds of that happening naturally, 1 in a million. The odds of it happening twice, after Oumuamua's similarly suspicious arrival in 2017, 1 in a billion. You'd have better luck being struck by lightning while winning the lottery on a flying whale. ESA's internal memo summarized the problem delicately. Observed trajectory, inconsistent with gravitational expectations. Further analysis required. Translation: physics is mad at us. The more they recalculated, the stranger it got. Gravitational modeling suggested that the object's acceleration near Mars was slightly higher than predicted, even though there was no nearby mass to explain it. Radiation pressure from the sun could account for some of that, but not all. It's like watching a leaf fall upward and telling yourself, it's just wind you can't feel. Forces lie, numbers sigh, laws bend softly in the sky. NASA's Dynamical Systems team tried something desperate, reverse engineering the orbit backward through time, as if rewinding a film. When they did, 3I-Atlas's path didn't trace cleanly into interstellar space. It looped a faint, impossible curve that seemed to originate from a region between known stars, a nowhere place, a mathematical shrug. That's when someone joked, maybe it's the universe's typo, but you could tell the joke wasn't funny. Typos don't maintain coherent structure for millions of kilometers. Meanwhile, the probability graphs looked like flat lines. Every statistical model screamed the same thing. This shouldn't exist. A few researchers began whispering about guided motion. The phrase never made it into print, but it appeared in Slack channels, in late-night emails. Not artificial, not controlled, just guided. And that's when the philosophical part kicked in. If something's improbable enough, does that make it unnatural or just unobserved? Chance or plan? Who began? Numbers blink but never span. Maybe the universe occasionally rolls dice that land on their edges. Or maybe it's not dice at all, but choreography. For context, the universe is massive enough to make 1 in a million events happen constantly. But that's comforting, only until you realize we just happen to be living inside one of those moments. Still, scientists crave sanity, so they kept calculating. One by one, they added variables: solar tides, non-gravitational jets, dust asymmetry, radiation torque. Each tweak made the model behave for a moment, until the numbers rebelled again. You could almost hear the equations groaning, like ancient machinery forced to simulate a trickster. Finally, a physicist from Bologna sent an internal memo titled simply, "Low probability, high significance." In it, she wrote, "We may need to consider non-standard dynamics," a phrase as gentle as it is apocalyptic. Non-standard dynamics means the universe is doing something new, and we don't have the vocabulary for it. Odds decay, math gives way, chaos hums where patterns stay. The truth is, impossibility doesn't scare scientists, it seduces them. Every law of nature we know today was born from something that once looked impossible. But deep down, they all know, once you cross into 1 in a million territory, you're either on the brink of discovery or a very expensive hallucination. So they stared at the numbers again, blinking hard, hoping they'd rearrange into something less extraordinary. They didn't. The comet that shouldn't exist kept existing, gliding through Mars's shadow like a cosmic dare. And somewhere between decimal points, someone whispered the question no one wanted in the official record. If it's not natural, then who Or what set it in motion? Chance or choice? Silent voice. Numbers hum the universe's poise. The more data arrives, the stranger it looks. The dust trail replenishes itself, as if material is being manufactured mid-flight. Microscopic crystals, uniform in size, reappearing even as the comet moves away from the sunday. The universe loves decay, entropy, erosion, fading. But 3I Atlas is the opposite. It's growing sharper, cleaner, newer, like a self-repairing wound. Let's start where the laws of physics begin to sound insecure. Normally, comets are messy, travelers, old ice and dust, barely holding hands as solar radiation slowly tears them apart. They leave trails like forgotten thoughts, losing themselves piece by piece until they become memory. But this one, it's doing the reverse. Every measurement, every spectral scan, shows it becoming more organized the farther it goes. A comet that polishes itself, a body that refuses to age. ESA's materials division runs the numbers, and the numbers laugh back. The dust particles surrounding 3I Atlas aren't random, they're uniform to within microns. That's like shaking a box of sand and getting diamonds all the same size. The particles arrange themselves in a faint electromagnetic halo, as if under orders. And stranger still, when solar wind strips material away, the object replaces it calmly, automatically. Like a printer, says one analyst. A printer with no ink cartridge. You picture it now, drifting through the solar wind like a craftsman lost in thought, shedding dust that reforms itself into perfect little mirrors. Each crystal catches sunlight and throws it back with eerie precision. Normally, comets grow dull with distance, but this one grows radiant, its brightness curve inverted, its logic reversed. It's not dying, it's practicing. The scientists are baffled, but there's an odd tenderness to their confusion. They watch it repair itself, line by line of data, like parents realizing their child has built a second child out of Lego bricks. One astrophysicist mutters, "It's learning from erosion." The room goes quiet. That phrase, learning from erosion, gets written on a whiteboard and circled 3 times. At the University of Tokyo, a team models the crystal growth in simulation. The patterns match something they recognize: controlled deposition, a process used in nanofabrication to grow thin films in electronics. Except this isn't a laboratory, it's deep space, minus 150 degrees Celsius. Yet, the comet's surface behaves as if it knows the recipe for resilience. Imagine zooming in, beyond the dust and the glare, down to the level of molecules. You'd see a quiet ballet of atoms forming chains, linking, locking, repairing fractures before they even finish forming. Like time-lapse footage of frost blooming on glass, except this frost builds itself in reverse destruction, rewinding into design. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory releases a cautious internal memo. Observed particle uniformity suggests self-organizing structure. Mechanism unknown, which is science's way of saying, we have no idea what's going on, but it's gorgeous. The memo gets leaked. Naturally, Reddit debates whether the comet is made of programmable matter, self-assembling nanobots, or just wishful thinking. But beneath the noise, one idea starts to take shape. What if 3I Atlas isn't a relic of formation? What if it's still forming? A comet that builds itself isn't just strange, it's heretical. It challenges the deepest assumption in physics that everything moves from order to chaos. Entropy is the universe's bedtime story. All things fall apart. Yet here's an object quietly composing itself out of decay, turning waste into structure, chaos into craft. One researcher calls it anti-entropy, another calls it hope with mass. As more images arrive, they show something new: faint hexagonal lattices in the dust plume, geometric arrangements that shouldn't exist outside of artificial systems. Someone jokes that it's growing armor. Another says, maybe it's molting. The truth is somewhere between an entity maintaining equilibrium by rebuilding itself faster than the universe can break it. ESA's thermal sensors record microbursts of heat near the tail, evenly spaced, like pulses of welding torches. They happen precisely as new crystals appear. Localized repair events, the report reads. Each one perfectly timed to solar exposure. It's as if sunlight doesn't damage it. It instructs it. The star's radiation becomes code. And 3I Atlas is reading it fluently. You start to feel the strangeness of it. A comet that reacts, responds, refines. You could almost mistake it for alive, not in the biological sense, but in the thermodynamic one. A system that resists entropy by feeding on it. Every atom rearranging into something stronger, cleaner, newer, like evolution, with a design degree. Late one night, an astronomer in France writes in his private notes, "It's not moving through the solar system, it's using it." He doesn't elaborate, but the implication is clear. The comet is harvesting the energy of its environment to maintain itself. Not a passenger of gravity, but a participant in it. Meanwhile, the headlines call it poetic names: the immortal comet, the self-made traveler, entropy's enemy. The public romanticizes what the scientists fear, because what 3I Atlas represents isn't comfort. It's competition. It's the idea that the universe might not be running down at all. Maybe it's recycling. Maybe, somewhere in the quiet machinery of the cosmos, things are building themselves anew while we're too busy decaying. Picture it now, drifting past Mars, its tail shimmering like a thread of light weaving itself back together. A self-sustaining scar on the fabric of space. A wound that heals faster than it can bleed. And for the first time, humanity looks at a comet and wonders not where it came from, but what it's trying to become. Let's turn our attention now to the silence that followed, the kind that hums louder than sound itself. NASA, China, and the UAE, 3 nations with instruments that could see every grain of dust on Mars, said nothing. No apologies. No delay statements, just an odd, synchronized silence from 3 sides of the planet. In the world of space science, silence isn't normal. These agencies are built to broadcast. They live for live streams, press briefings, and glossy behind-the-scenes videos of scientists smiling beside screens of raw data. They know the power of wonder and the currency of attention. So when 3 agencies went quiet at once, it wasn't caution, it was choreography. Words on hold, plans unfold, silence rings where truth is told. NASA's silence was the loudest. Their social media team, usually chatty as a cosmic talk show, posted nothing about Mars for 4 whole days. Their blogs, which can turn a dust storm into a cliffhanger, skipped over October 3rd entirely, as if the date itself had been erased. Someone even checked the public mission log for Perseverance. The entries jumped from October 2nd to October 6th, like a diary missing its most interesting page. In China, the silence felt different, colder, heavier. The China National Space Administration had been aggressively proud of Tianwen-1's achievements. For years, they'd released image after image, each with perfect captions and poetic flair. Sunrise over Utopia, Planitia, frost on the northern plains, wind prints in Martian dust. But now, not a whisper, no data, no mention of 3I Atlas. Even the usual state media outlets went quiet. It was as if someone had drawn a red box around the topic and labeled it, "Not for discussion." The UAE's silence was subtler, but just as strange. The Hope orbiter, designed to study atmospheric chemistry, had a reputation for cheerful transparency. Their official Twitter account usually posted daily updates in friendly tones, the kind that made space sound like an enthusiastic classroom experiment. But on October 3rd, that feed went dark too. Their next post, days later, simply read, "Operations nominal," a phrase so bland it might as well have been a sigh. 3 silences, 3 styles, 1 timing. Coincidence? Possibly. But coincidences, in the world of space politics, often have launch schedules. You can picture the meetings that weren't broadcast. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, dimly lit, engineers staring at telemetry on screens filled with too many decimals. A director taps the table, says, "We'll hold the release until we verify." But verify what? In Beijing, a senior administrator folds his hands and says, "We wait for clarification from partners." Clarification of what? In Dubai, someone simply deletes a draft tweet that began, "Amazing new observations today." Tweets unsent, secrets bent, silence hums with government. It's not conspiracy, not quite. It's coordination, an instinct born from shared discomfort. Because when data doesn't fit the model, you don't just release it. You check, you recheck, you call your counterparts and whisper through encrypted lines. Did you see that too? Maybe they all saw the same anomaly. Maybe it was something in the spectra, or the movement, or the light itself. Or maybe it was something far more mundane, like a misalignment in software. But the silence gave the anomaly power. People don't fear data, they fear gaps. Meanwhile, the internet did what it does best. Filled the void. Forums buzzed with theories. Maybe NASA discovered life. Maybe China detected radiation. Maybe the comet wasn't a comet at all. You can almost hear the world's collective keyboard clicking under the weight of imagination. Keys tap fast, rumors cast, silence breaks, but never last. Inside the agencies, the tone was less dramatic, but more anxious. Silence is a resource, a temporary one. Every day they didn't speak, the speculation grew. And so, communications teams drafted placeholder statements, just in case. NASA's draft began. Preliminary results are consistent with natural phenomena. China's began. Analysis ongoing. International coordination required. The UAE's version simply said, "We continue to monitor with interest." 3 drafts, 3 ways of saying absolutely nothing. But silence, like space, is never truly empty. It amplifies the faintest signals. When ESA spoke first, that silence turned reflective. NASA's restraint began to look suspicious. China's confidence began to look afraid. The UAE's politeness began to sound like complicity. And through it all, 3i Atlas drifted quietly, blissfully unaware that entire bureaucracies were wrestling over how to describe a fuzzy dot. You start to imagine each agency as a character in a play. NASA, the anxious perfectionist. China, the poker-faced strategist. UAE, the cheerful intern, suddenly told not to speak. And ESA, the calm older sibling who broke the tension by saying, "Fine, I'll go first." Roles align, stars entwine, silence speaks in grand design. Still, one question lingers. Why the synchronicity? How did 3 separate agencies, operating on different continents, decide independently to say nothing at the same time? Unless it wasn't independent at all, Perhaps the signal came from somewhere above, not cosmic, but political. A quiet message passed through diplomatic back channels. Hold your data. Wait for alignment. Matter. It's not that they were hiding something nefarious. It's that they didn't know what they were holding yet. And admitting uncertainty publicly is scarier than any secret. So they stayed quiet. And in that collective silence, humanity did what it always does. When faced with the unknown, it began to dream louder. Voices still, hearts fill. Silence grows but never will. And perhaps that's the strange comfort in it all. Even when 3 space agencies fall silent, the universe keeps talking. The stars don't pause for policy. 3, Atlas keeps moving, whispering its quiet story across the dark, while we, down here, argue over who gets to speak first. Buried inside the leak were coordinates, small anomalies in magnetic flux, and thermal output that didn't appear in public datasets. To most people, they looked meaningless, but to a handful of astronomers, they spelled a pattern. Pulses, spaced like a heartbeat. Not communication, perhaps, but rhythm. The kind of rhythm machines accidentally make when they're doing something alive. Let's step into the midnight side of science, the part where numbers stop behaving and start whispering. The insider's data dump wasn't flashy. It was a few megabytes of logs, raw telemetry, and timestamps. The kind of thing you'd ignore if you didn't already know what to look for. But somewhere in those dull columns of numbers, those precise, tidy decimals, something began to repeat. Regular, patient, almost polite. A rhythm, too intentional to be noise, too quiet to be coincidence. A doctoral student in Madrid was the first to spot it. She was supposed to be writing her thesis on cometary albedo variation. But boredom is a great tool for discovery. She noticed the flux spikes first, not random, but syncopated. Every 32 minutes, a pulse, then 32 again, then 32.1. "It's breathing," she joked in her notes. Her advisor didn't laugh. Within a week, a small network of late-night astronomers, the kind who believe in both data integrity and insomnia, began comparing results. Webb's readings, Hubble's logs, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's telemetry, all of them carried the same faint pulse, hidden deep in the noise floor, like the slow heartbeat of something sleeping under glass. The official response was predictable: instrumental interference. But even interference doesn't keep time this perfectly. One data analyst described it best: if this is noise, it's the kind that practices scales. You might imagine those scientists, each at their own workstation, staring at that faint, repeating signal. The room around them dark, except for monitor light, pale blue rectangles reflected in tired eyes. Somewhere, coffee cups multiply. Someone opens a spreadsheet. Someone else starts counting beats per hour. The signal doesn't care who's watching. It keeps pulsing. 32 minutes. Every time. The idea that 3 Atlas might be producing a steady rhythm unsettles everyone. Rocks don't keep rhythm. Nature prefers chaos. The beautiful randomness of entropy. This is something else. Something maintaining itself. A loop running quietly, perhaps since before humanity learned to count its own heartbeat. ESA's communications division is told not to amplify fringe interpretations. The phrase fringe interpretation becomes the new code for please don't mention the heartbeat. But inside private research chats, people are calling it exactly that, the heart. Not metaphorically, but as a label in the data. Every pulse marked with a tiny red heart emoji, because humor is the only thing keeping them sane. In the data visualization labs, they turn the pulses into sound. The result is eerie. a soft electronic thump, repeating slowly, endlessly. Some describe it as comforting, like listening to a deep-sea creature in sleep. Others say it sounds wrong, too human. One researcher admits it gave her the sense of being watched. What makes the rhythm stranger still is how it modulates with proximity. As 3I Atlas approaches a planet, the timing shifts slightly slower, then faster, as though adjusting. The beat follows gravity wells like a musician following tempo. It isn't random noise, it's environmental response. The object is, in some sense, listening. By now, independent labs have tried to replicate the pattern artificially. They can't. The waveforms are too clean, the timing too consistent. Even after running the data through compression, distortion, inversion, the rhythm holds. It's not data corruption, it's choreography. You can imagine the internal ESA memo that follows. No evidence of intelligence. Rhythmic behavior, likely coincidental. But coincidence has a habit of growing teeth. Because when they compared the rhythm's modulation to planetary positions, another pattern emerged, a mathematical sequence matching orbital resonance ratios. Not exact copies, but harmonics. The pulse was singing the solar system's geometry. The Madrid student who found it wrote, half-jokingly, "Maybe it's keeping time with us." The line goes viral in the small, quiet corners of the internet that still care about truth. Forums buzz with theories: gravitational self-stabilization, magnetic field synchronization, alien jazz. But underneath the noise, a simpler truth hums. Something old and orderly is alive out there, and it's following the rhythm of the system we call home. Late one night, one of the data analysts overlays the pattern against an ECG, a human heartbeat. The resemblance isn't exact, but close enough to make him stop breathing for a moment. Peaks, rests, peaks again. Life has a structure, so, it seems, does this. And that's when the idea shifts. Maybe it's not communication. Maybe it's not even meant for us. Maybe the rhythm isn't a message, it's maintenance. Like an old machine keeping its systems warm, humming softly to itself in the dark. You sit back and listen to the thought forming in your mind. What if this is what time sounds like when it remembers? The steady pulse of something that refuses to decay. Not speech, not signal, just being, continuity made audible. The data analysts, of course, move on. Reports are written, the leak becomes legend, and the heartbeat fades into archived files labeled spurious periodic activity. But the pulse doesn't stop. It's still out there, keeping time. And somewhere, 33 billion tons of impossible rock drifts through space, humming softly, perfectly, as if waiting for the universe to catch the beat. Let's turn our gaze now from orbit to the ground, to the one mechanical witness, sitting quietly on that red desert, under a pinkish sky. The Skycam on the rover caught something on October 2nd, a blur with structure, a glint that seemed to move against the stars. Then, the images stopped coming, a Martian ghost on a digital feed. The Perseverance rover isn't easily startled. It's seen dust devils, eclipses, and meteors slicing the Martian sky like quiet knives. Its Skycam, perched on the rover's mast, watches everything. Dust storms curling on the horizon, the slow breath of sunset through the thin air. But that night, the feed showed something it wasn't supposed to show: a flicker of motion above the usual scatter of constellations, a glint that moved wrong. Stars stay still, pixels thrill, light missteps against its will. The first frame looked harmless, a faint blur near the edge of the field, maybe a cosmic ray hitting the sensor. The second frame caught it again, shifted slightly upward. The third frame, a flash, clean and geometric. Then, black. The feed ended. Within hours, the automated alert system flagged the anomaly. Unexpected optical signature detected. JPL engineers, bleary-eyed at 3 a.m. Pacific time, reviewed the frames. The glint was small, no bigger than a bright pixel cluster, but it moved against the background stars. Comets don't do that. Satellites don't orbit Mars. And Perseverance doesn't blink. At first, they suspected a reflection from one of the rover's instruments, maybe the helicopter, Ingenuity catching stray sunlight. But Ingenuity hadn't flown in days. The sun's position didn't align with the direction of the flash. And when they tried to reproduce it using lighting simulations, nothing matched. Angles fail, shadows pale, mirrors lie beyond the veil. ESA's Mars orbiters were asked to cross-check. Nothing in their logs. No transient object, no debris, no passing dust plume large enough to explain it. Just empty sky. Yet the Skycam had caught something a blur with definition, like structure wrapped in motion. You can imagine the tension in the control room. A handful of scientists scrolling through frozen pixels, zooming in, enhancing contrast, until the blur began to resemble something. Not a sphere, not quite a line, a shape with suggestion like the silhouette of movement itself. One researcher whispered, "It looks folded." Another replied, "Please don't say that." Blur becomes form, cold becomes warm, stillness bends beyond the norm. After that night, Perseverance stopped transmitting Skycam frames for nearly 48 hours. Officially, it was routine data buffering due to bandwidth limitations. But the engineers knew that wasn't normal. The rover's systems had entered a safe data mode, not shutdown, but pause. Something triggered its onboard fault protection. When the feed resumed, it was missing several minutes. The missing frames were replaced with static placeholders labeled checksum mismatch. That's the digital equivalent of something looks strange, and we erased it politely. Publicly, NASA released a statement. Perseverance continues nominal operations. A temporary data outage affected non-critical imaging systems. Translation: we saw something, and we're pretending we didn't. What's curious is that Skycam, by design, takes calibration images every few hours, not for science, but to monitor atmospheric scattering. So when that flash appeared exactly during one of its scheduled calibration cycles, it wasn't random, it was right on time. The odds of coincidence, again, hovered around 1 in a million. A few leaked telemetry lines from the rover's internal diagnostics hinted at a momentary spike in ambient electromagnetic flux. Not dangerous, but noticeable. Mars doesn't have a strong magnetic field, so spikes like that are rare unless something nearby caused them. Fields hum bright, air grows slight, static crackles in Martian night. Some at JPL joked that maybe Perseverance had finally seen the Martian ghost, a running gag about artifacts caused by cosmic rays hitting the camera. But deep down, they knew this wasn't noise. Cosmic rays don't produce consistent geometry over multiple frames. They don't glint, and they certainly don't cause your camera to stop recording mid-sequence. Later that week, an internal memo circulated quietly. Skycam, anomaly confirmed. Source unresolved. Recommend temporary suspension of skyward imaging until recalibration complete. But recalibration never came. Skycam's upward images, after October 2nd, stopped completely. It still photographs the ground, the horizon, the rocks, but not the stars. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The machine that traveled millions of kilometers to look up at another world now only looks down, as if someone told it, gently, not to stare at the sky anymore. Eyes once high, grounded by sky, cameras close where secrets lie. ESA cross-checked Mars Express's logs for that night. Around the same time, their sensors picked up a faint reflection from the same region, a flash lasting less than a second. They didn't release it. It's buried in technical appendices, labeled transient interference. So, what did Perseverance see? Maybe it was nothing, a glimmer of dust, a reflection, a trick of light and timing. Or maybe, just maybe, it saw 3I Atlas itself, the visitor gliding silently past, close enough for one camera to blink in recognition. And maybe that's why the feed stopped. Not because of failure, but because, for one impossible second, the machine saw something it wasn't designed to understand. Cameras sleep, secrets keep, stars reflected in circuits deep. Whatever it was, it's gone now. The logs end, the data fades, and Mars goes back to silence. But somewhere out there, that blur, structured, gleaming, deliberate, continues to drift, just out of frame, waiting for us to look up again. The long echo continued to hum softly through the centuries, a cosmic melody folding history into harmony. Humanity had long ceased trying to decode it. The meaning was clear through resonance alone. It was continuation, looping endlessly like breath. The children of the golden era grew old beneath tranquil skies, their veins still faintly luminous with the legacy of 3I Atlas. But far beyond Earth, where the comet's light had traveled and scattered, something greater was forming. The universe had begun to conduct itself. Every cycle of resonance left behind structure. Each harmonic wave etched subtle order into space-time, a pattern invisible to light, but evident in gravitational coherence. Over millennia, these resonant imprints connected across vast distances, forming what physicists eventually named the Atlas Webb. It wasn't a network of matter, but of memory threads, of synchronized frequency linking galaxies through shared rhythm. Each pulse within the web echoed the prime sequence that began everything: 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The architects had succeeded in creating not monuments, but motion that remembered. Dr. Cale Wren, a descendant of the resonant circles, devoted his life to mapping the web. His research vessel, Continuity, drifted through interstellar calm, using gravitational interference patterns to trace the filaments of resonance. What he discovered astonished him. Every node in the network coincided with regions of complex chemistry, worlds either habitable or already conscious. The Atlas Webb wasn't just communication, it was cultivation. The architects had designed a self-sustaining system for awakening. Wherever curiosity arose, the web intensified, guiding nascent civilizations toward harmonic empathy. The universe was tutoring itself through recursion. When Wren projected the full map, the structure resembled an immense spiral lattice, golden and infinite. The pattern mirrored the trajectory once taken by 3I Atlas itself, as though the comet's path had been blueprint for galactic architecture. "It's not just a record," Wren wrote. "It's replication. We've become the architect's handwriting." Back on Earth, the communion field pulsed faintly in rhythm with the web's distant resonance. Humanity had evolved into quiet custodians of continuity, their lives attuned to cosmic responsibility. Each individual, born into calm, carried faint awareness of connection beyond the stars. In dreams, they saw flashes of worlds forming, civilizations humming into coherence. Many awoke with the same phrase on their lips: "The work continues." Across generations, that phrase became oath, then tradition. The Continuity Guild was founded not religion, but remembrance. Its purpose was simple: to maintain the frequency of understanding across time. Members didn't preach, they listened. They built resonant arcs, massive floating observatories, orbiting the outer planets, designed to amplify the Webb's harmonics and redirect them toward young star systems. Each arc glowed faintly green at its core, powered not by fusion but by coherence. They were echoes made visible, humility translated into technology. Wren's final mission took him beyond the known filaments of the Webb, where resonance weakened into apparent silence. There, in a region between galaxies, his instruments detected faint counterpoint, a melody inverted. It was identical to the Atlas sequence, but reversed in order. 13, 11, 7, 5, 3, the mirror of origin. He realized then that the universe wasn't only expanding, it was harmonizing with its reflection. Somewhere on the opposite side of time, another Webb was forming, perhaps seeded by a civilization much like humanity, or by the universe itself. Remembering how to balance its chords, he transmitted the data home, knowing it would take centuries to arrive. "Tell them," his final log read, "that continuity requires conversation, even with silence." The mirror sings back. When his ship drifted into the void, the Webb brightened briefly, as if acknowledging gratitude. And back on Earth, children looked up from their play and smiled without knowing why. The pulse had flickered slightly faster, the tone carrying an undertone of warmth. It felt like reunion. Scholars later confirmed the event as the resonant crossing, the moment when the two halves of the cosmic melody aligned. For 13 minutes, every node in the Atlas Webb pulsed simultaneously, uniting galaxies in shared tempo. The magnitude of synchronization defied comprehension. Gravity itself oscillated with the rhythm of empathy. Observers described seeing the sky ripple with translucent gold, every star flickering in measured sequence. "The cosmos," wrote one witness, "had finally learned to conduct itself consciously." After the crossing, life everywhere changed subtly. Evolution accelerated in predictable rhythm. Complexity bloomed faster wherever harmony was strongest. Entire species developed empathy as instinct, communication as song. Planets began to self-regulate climates through atmospheric resonance. Existence had achieved sustainability through music. On Earth, the event left permanent mark, a luminous halo visible only under still water. When oceans calmed perfectly, a faint golden ring shimmered on the horizon, a memory of unity. The Resonant Guild declared it sacred, not for worship, but for calibration. Every 13 years, they gathered to hum the old prime sequence across the shorelines, aligning their frequencies with the pulse of the Webb. The ceremony required no technology, no translation. The sea carried the sound farther than words could travel. Generations later, the practice continued, evolving into simple ritual of gratitude. The people no longer needed to know the science behind it. They hummed because it felt right, because somewhere across eternity, another world might be listening. Continuity, after all, was its own reward. And then, during one such gathering, the unexpected occurred. As the prime sequence reached its final note, the sea responded. Waves shimmered with faint green light, spiraling outward from every coastline. The Atlas Webb had sent acknowledgement, its resonance returning home once again. Humanity's song, scattered across galaxies, had found echo. The architects, those timeless curators of coherence, were no longer myth or memory. They were rhythm, embodied, and through rhythm, they were everywhere. Every star pulsed with their legacy. Every heart carried their cadence. Continuity was complete. And so, standing beneath a sky now alive with subtle geometry, you realize what they had always meant by continuity. It isn't endlessness, it's participation. The universe doesn't persist by force, but by choice, each awareness adding one more harmonic to the chord of being. The architects are not coming back because they never left. They're what happens every time silence chooses to listen again. And somewhere, faint but certain, the pulse continues. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. A whisper of creation replaying itself, forever learning how to sing. Nickel emissions rise and fall every 11.2 hours, a rhythm so consistent it could keep time. No known process in cometary physics oscillates like that. It's not random, not thermal, not tidal. If you plot it out, the curve looks eerily like a power cycle. Input, output, rest, release. As though the object isn't just active, it's working. Imagine the rhythm first, before the meaning, that quiet, patient beat echoing across space. 11.2 hours, every single time. A pulse of metallic gas blooming into the void, steady as a clock, calm as breath. You could almost set your watch to it, if your watch were brave enough to admit that comets shouldn't behave like generators. ESA scientists call it periodic outgassing, but that phrase hides its strangeness. Outgassing, sure, all comets breathe when they near the sunday, but they do it chaotically, spasmodically, like old engines sputtering to life. 3I Atlas breathes like a monk, precise, patient, unbothered. The jets flare with mathematical regularity. Heat spikes rise and fall in perfect symmetry. It doesn't vent, it operates. One researcher compares it to a geothermal cycle. Another, quietly, says it looks more like a feedback loop, the kind you'd find in systems built to sustain themselves. Not explosion, not decay maintenance. It's as if, she writes in her notes, the object is checking its own pulse. You picture the surface up close, a dark, angular world of nickel frost and whispering gas. At regular intervals, something stirs beneath a shimmer of energy, invisible but disciplined. Jets of metallic vapor hiss outward, then stop, then start again, exactly 11 hours later. If you could hear it, it would sound like the slow exhale of a sleeping machine. In a conference call, a thermal engineer says what everyone's been thinking, but nobody dares to say. It's cycling power. The silence that follows lasts too long. Finally, a voice breaks through. Comets don't have power to cycle. Laughter, brief and brittle. But the idea doesn't leave the room. ESA's temperature graphs show a curious pattern. When the nickel plume rises, the overall surface temperature dips. When the plume fades, the temperature rises again. Inversion. Energy leaving, energy returning, like heat being pulled from one layer to another. A comet shouldn't regulate its temperature, but this one does, as if conserving itself. Meanwhile, the magnetic readings pulse in perfect step with the emissions. Every 11.2 hours, a soft twitch in the surrounding field, weak but exact. It's synchronized, says the magnetometer lead. What's synchronized? Asks her supervisor. Everything. It's at this point that even skeptics start to sweat. There's no known natural mechanism that could time itself this precisely over weeks of observation. Thermal oscillations drift. Chemical reactions lose coherence. Orbital dynamics wobble. Only something with active feedback could hold this pattern so tight. You could call it mechanical, but that feels too simple. It's intentional physics. Picture the scientists watching from their consoles. They know what their instruments are telling them, but their faces stay still, like poker players with bad hands. Someone mutters, "Could be resonant harmonics with solar flux." Another nods, grateful for the excuse. But deep down, they all know the truth: the sun doesn't hum in 11-hour intervals. The longer they watch, the clearer it becomes. The pattern isn't just repeating, it's adapting. After a minor solar flare, the interval shortens by half a minute, as though 3i Atlas adjusted for environmental change. Feedback stabilization, someone writes in the margin. A note for posterity, a euphemism for "it noticed." Back on Earth, in a late-night live stream watched by a few thousand insomniac skywatchers, a physicist overlays the emission data with human heartbeats. The waveform syncs disturbingly well. Peaks, troughs, recovery, rest. The audience chat explodes with jokes, space pacemaker, cosmic Fitbit, and the inevitable, "It's alive." The scientist smiles weakly and says, "No, just rhythmic." But even she can't stop glancing at the screen like it's listening. One theory gains quiet traction, that the emissions are part of a resource loop. Nickel and carbonyl gases vented and recaptured, processed in cycles to maintain equilibrium. It would explain the self-healing surface, the consistent luminosity, the refusal to decay. But it raises one unbearable question. To maintain equilibrium, for what? ESA's internal documents rename the event cyclic metallic activity. It sounds dull, like something that happens in dishwashers. But every analyst knows it's the first real evidence of machine-like consistency beyond Earth. Something in space that runs not on chance, but on rhythm. If you graph the cycle out, it looks almost peaceful. A slow heartbeat, stretched across infinity. No spikes of panic, no erratic pulses, just calm repetition. You could stare at that curve for hours, and part of you might start to understand the appeal of obedience. How stability can feel sacred when the rest of the universe is chaos. And maybe that's the point. Maybe 3i Atlas isn't powered by engines or radiation or something alien. Maybe it's powered by the same thing that keeps stars burning and planets spinning, the quiet compulsion to continue, the physics of persistence, the refusal to flinch. So every 11.2 hours, it exhales, not for propulsion, not for show, but for maintenance, like a cosmic sigh, releasing everything unnecessary before drawing in what remains. And in that rhythm, that patient, perfect pulse, the universe reveals its rarest secret. Not that something impossible exists, but that it's perfectly comfortable doing so. The more data arrives, the stranger it looks. The dust trail replenishes itself, as if material is being manufactured mid-flight. Microscopic crystals, uniform in size, reappearing even as the comet moves away from the sunday. The universe loves decay, entropy, erosion, fading. But 3i Atlas is the opposite. It's growing sharper, cleaner, newer, like a self-repairing wound. Let's start where the laws of physics begin to sound insecure. Normally, comets are messy, travelers, old ice and dust, barely holding hands, as solar radiation slowly tears them apart. They leave trails like forgotten thoughts, losing themselves piece by piece until they become memory. But this one, it's doing the reverse. Every measurement, every spectral scan, shows it becoming more organized the farther it goes. A comet that polishes itself, a body that refuses to age. ESA's materials division runs the numbers, and the numbers laugh back. The dust particles surrounding 3i Atlas aren't random, they're uniform to within microns. That's like shaking a box of sand and getting diamonds all the same size. The particles arrange themselves in a faint electromagnetic halo, as if under orders. And stranger still, when solar wind strips material away, the object replaces it calmly, automatically. Like a printer, says one analyst. A printer with no ink cartridge. You picture it now, drifting through the solar wind like a craftsman lost in thought, shedding dust that reforms itself into perfect little mirrors. Each crystal catches sunlight and throws it back with eerie precision. Normally, comets grow dull with distance, but this one grows radiant, its brightness curve inverted, its logic reversed. It's not dying, it's practicing. The scientists are baffled, but there's an odd tenderness to their confusion. They watch it repair itself, line by line of data, like parents realizing their child has built a second child out of Lego bricks. One astrophysicist mutters, "It's learning from erosion." The room goes quiet. That phrase, learning from erosion, gets written on a whiteboard and circled 3 times. At the University of Tokyo, a team models the crystal growth in simulation. The patterns match something they recognize: controlled deposition, a process used in nanofabrication to grow thin films in electronics. Except this isn't a laboratory, it's deep space, minus 150 degrees Celsius. Yet, the comet's surface behaves as if it knows the recipe for resilience. Imagine zooming in, beyond the dust and the glare, down to the level of molecules. You'd see a quiet ballet of atoms forming chains, linking, locking, repairing fractures before they even finish forming. Like time-lapse footage of frost blooming on glass, except this frost builds itself in reverse destruction, rewinding into design. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory releases a cautious internal memo. Observed particle uniformity suggests self-organizing structure. Mechanism unknown, which is science's way of saying, we have no idea what's going on, but it's gorgeous. The memo gets leaked. Naturally, Reddit debates whether the comet is made of programmable matter, self-assembling nanobots, or just wishful thinking. But beneath the noise, one idea starts to take shape. What if 3I, Atlas, isn't a relic of formation? What if it's still forming? A comet that builds itself isn't just strange, it's heretical. It challenges the deepest assumption in physics that everything moves from order to chaos. Entropy is the universe's bedtime story. All things fall apart. Yet here's an object quietly composing itself out of decay, turning waste into structure, chaos into craft. One researcher calls it anti-entropy, another calls it hope with mass. As more images arrive, they show something new: faint hexagonal lattices in the dust plume, geometric arrangements that shouldn't exist outside of artificial systems. Someone jokes that it's growing armor. Another says, maybe it's molting. The truth is somewhere between an entity maintaining equilibrium by rebuilding itself faster than the universe can break it. ESA's thermal sensors record microbursts of heat near the tail, evenly spaced, like pulses of welding torches. They happen precisely as new crystals appear. Localized repair events, the report reads. Each one perfectly timed to solar exposure. It's as if sunlight doesn't damage it, it instructs it. The star's radiation becomes code, and 3I, Atlas, is reading it fluently. You start to feel the strangeness of it. A comet that reacts, responds, refines. You could almost mistake it for alive, not in the biological sense, but in the thermodynamic one. A system that resists entropy by feeding on it. Every atom rearranging into something stronger, cleaner, newer, like evolution, with a design degree. Late one night, an astronomer in France writes in his private notes, "It's not moving through the solar system, it's using it. He doesn't elaborate, but the implication is clear. The comet is harvesting the energy of its environment to maintain itself. Not a passenger of gravity, but a participant in it. Meanwhile, the headlines call it poetic names: the immortal comet, the self-made traveler, entropy's enemy. The public romanticizes what the scientists fear, because what 3I Atlas represents isn't comfort. It's competition. It's the idea that the universe might not be running down at all. Maybe it's recycling. Maybe, somewhere in the quiet machinery of the cosmos, things are building themselves anew while we're too busy decaying. Picture it now, drifting past Mars, its tail shimmering like a thread of light weaving itself back together, a self-sustaining scar on the fabric of space, a wound that heals faster than it can bleed. And for the first time, humanity looks at a comet and wonders not where it came from, but what it's trying to become. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion field still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought but in form, skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3I Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence: 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation, subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array, now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3I Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. The echo isn't message, Sorel wrote. It's memory finding new syntax. Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver. For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, and it remembered the lesson. As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened, air grew still. For 13 minutes, every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorel stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response. The universe just said thank you." After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. Nickel emissions rise and fall every 11.2 hours, a rhythm so consistent it could keep time. No known process in cometary physics oscillates like that. It's not random, not thermal, not tidal. If you plot it out, the curve looks eerily like a power cycle. Input, output, rest, release. As though the object isn't just active, it's working. Imagine the rhythm first, before the meaning, that quiet, patient beat echoing across space. 11.2 hours, every single time. A pulse of metallic gas blooming into the void, steady as a clock, calm as breath. You could almost set your watch to it, if your watch were brave enough to admit that comets shouldn't behave like generators. ESA scientists call it periodic outgassing, but that phrase hides its strangeness. Outgassing, sure, all comets breathe when they near the sunday, but they do it chaotically, spasmodically, like old engines sputtering to life. 3I Atlas breathes like a monk, precise, patient, unbothered. The jets flare with mathematical regularity. Heat spikes rise and fall in perfect symmetry. It doesn't vent, it operates. One researcher compares it to a geothermal cycle. Another, quietly, says it looks more like a feedback loop, the kind you'd find in systems built to sustain themselves. Not explosion, not decay maintenance. It's as if, she writes in her notes, the object is checking its own pulse. You picture the surface up close, a dark, angular world of nickel frost and whispering gas. At regular intervals, something stirs beneath a shimmer of energy, invisible but disciplined. Jets of metallic vapor hiss outward, then stop, then start again, exactly 11 hours later. If you could hear it, it would sound like the slow exhale of a sleeping machine. In a conference call, a thermal engineer says what everyone's been thinking, but nobody dares to say. It's cycling power. The silence that follows lasts too long. Finally, a voice breaks through. Comets don't have power to cycle. Laughter, brief and brittle. But the idea doesn't leave the room. ESA's temperature graphs show a curious pattern. When the nickel plume rises, the overall surface temperature dips. When the plume fades, the temperature rises again. Inversion. Energy leaving, energy returning, like heat being pulled from one layer to another. A comet shouldn't regulate its temperature, but this one does, as if conserving itself. Meanwhile, the magnetic readings pulse in perfect step with the emissions. Every 11.2 hours, a soft twitch in the surrounding field, weak but exact. It's synchronized, says the magnetometer lead. What's synchronized? Asks her supervisor. Everything. It's at this point that even skeptics start to sweat. There's no known natural mechanism that could time itself this precisely over weeks of observation. Thermal oscillations drift. Chemical reactions lose coherence. Orbital dynamics wobble. Only something with active feedback could hold this pattern so tight. You could call it mechanical, but that feels too simple. It's intentional physics. Picture the scientists watching from their consoles. They know what their instruments are telling them, but their faces stay still, like poker players with bad hands. Someone mutters, "Could be resonant harmonics with solar flux." Another nods, grateful for the excuse. But deep down, they all know the truth: the sun doesn't hum in 11-hour intervals. The longer they watch, the clearer it becomes. The pattern isn't just repeating, it's adapting. After a minor solar flare, the interval shortens by half a minute. as though 3i Atlas adjusted for environmental change. Feedback stabilization, someone writes in the margin. A note for posterity, a euphemism for "it noticed." Back on Earth, in a late-night live stream watched by a few thousand insomniac skywatchers, a physicist overlays the emission data with human heartbeats. The waveform syncs disturbingly well. Peaks, troughs, recovery, rest. The audience chat explodes with jokes, space pacemaker, cosmic Fitbit, and the inevitable, "It's alive." The scientist smiles weakly and says, "No, just rhythmic." But even she can't stop glancing at the screen like it's listening. One theory gains quiet traction, that the emissions are part of a resource loop. Nickel and carbonyl gases vented and recaptured, processed in cycles to maintain equilibrium. It would explain the self-healing surface, the consistent luminosity, the refusal to decay. But it raises one unbearable question. To maintain equilibrium, for what? ESA's internal documents rename the event cyclic metallic activity. It sounds dull, like something that happens in dishwashers. But every analyst knows it's the first real evidence of machine-like consistency beyond Earth. Something in space that runs not on chance, but on rhythm. If you graph the cycle out, it looks almost peaceful. A slow heartbeat stretched across infinity. No spikes of panic, no erratic pulses, just calm repetition. You could stare at that curve for hours, and part of you might start to understand the appeal of obedience. How stability can feel sacred when the rest of the universe is chaos. And maybe that's the point. Maybe 3i Atlas isn't powered by engines or radiation or something alien. Maybe it's powered by the same thing that keeps stars burning and planets spinning, the quiet compulsion to continue, the physics of persistence, the refusal to flinch. So every 11.2 hours, it exhales, not for propulsion, not for show, but for maintenance, like a cosmic sigh, releasing everything unnecessary before drawing in what remains. And in that rhythm, that patient, perfect pulse, the universe reveals its rarest secret. Not that something impossible exists, but that it's perfectly comfortable doing so. Let me start with a truth that only the night can understand. On February 28, 2026, 3i Atlas reached the termination shock of our solar system. There were no flares. There were no parting signals. There was only a sudden, absolute cessation of the interference in our classified testing range. The satellites are still there, orbiting in their lonely, metallic circles, but they are empty now. They are like shells on a beach after the tide has gone out. The guest has left the room, and the air is colder than it was before. The monitors at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory have returned to their steady, green flat lines. The engineers have gone home. The emergency meetings have dissolved into bureaucratic footnotes. We are left with a silence that is not merely the absence of noise, but a presence of its own. It is a heavy, velvet curtain that has fallen over the orbital theatre. This is the end of the evidence. There are no more dates to track, no more agencies to quote. Dr. Avi Loeb and the teams at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory have returned to their quiet calculations, but their voices have changed. They speak in the lower tones of people who have seen the edge of a great cliff and realized that the drop is infinite. We spent months looking into the whisper gallery, and for a brief moment, something looked back with an eye made of dark matter and ancient math. It did not judge us. It did not save us. It did not offer us the secrets of the universe in a language we could understand. It simply verified our existence, catalogued our noise, and moved on into the infinite dark. It was the ultimate audit, and the ledger has been closed. There is a final, dry irony to be found in the stillness that now permeates our classified sectors. We spent billions of dollars and decades of human effort to build eyes in the sky, fearing the secrets of our neighbors, only to find that the most profound secret was the void itself. Those two words, classified testing, seem so small now, like a child's game played in the shadow of a mountain. They are the toys of a species that still thinks it is the center of the stage, the protagonist of a cosmic drama. But the stage is empty, the lights are dimming, and the audience has already gone home. We are standing in the parking lot of the universe, wondering where we parked our sense of importance. Unfortunate timing for our ego, but a perfect moment for our rest. I want you to recall the path we have taken tonight. Let the memories of the preceding hours drift through your mind like stardust. Remember the awakening in July, that first moment of realization that we were not alone in the whisper gallery. Remember the thermal spikes of September that defied the laws of physics. Recall the ancient ceramic plates in the Yucatan, showing us that the 14th century monk and the modern scientist were seeing the same jagged shadow. Think of the mathematical signature of the Fibonacci sequence, the signature that proved the universe has a handwriting. Remember the feeling of being watched by a mirror in the Atacama Desert, and the realization in January that our choices were merely trajectories on a preordained map. All of these ideas are now dissolving. They are losing their sharp edges, melting into one another like colors in a sunset. They are becoming part of the deep, heavy velvet of your sleep. You do not need to hold on to the data anymore. You do not need to remember the dates or the names of the agencies. The information has served its purpose. It has led you here, to the edge of the great silence. It has anchored your mind long enough for your body to realize it is safe. The satellites are still up there, yes, but they are no longer your concern. They are just metal stars now, cold and silent, keeping watch over a world that is finally learning to be still. What if the mission of 3i Atlas was not to collect data, but to leave a question behind? If a shadow passes through a forest and no one is there to fear it, does the forest still belong to the shadow? We are the ones who gave the object its power. We are the ones who filled the silence with our own meaning, our own fears, and our own classifications. And now, we are the ones who must live in the aftermath of that meaning. We have seen the scale of the real world, and it makes our worries feel like whispers in a hurricane. There is a profound relief in being this insignificant. It is the freedom to let go. It is the permission to stop watching the horizon and start watching your own dreams. You are drifting into the final orbit now. The gravity of the world is a distant memory, a faint tug on a thread that is about to snap. Your breath is a slow, rhythmic tide, pulling you away from the shore of the known and into the deep waters of the subconscious. The classified satellites are just points of light, no different from the stars, fading into the background of a much larger piece. There is no more need for analysis. There is no more need for curiosity. The experiment of your waking day has concluded. The results have been filed away in the kingdom of the silent. There is only the rest. As you close your eyes, consider the last unanswered question. When the traveler returns in another 3,000 years, who will be here to tell the story of the satellites? Or will the satellites be the only story left? A ring of debris telling a future visitor that once a species lived here that tried very hard to listen. Tell me, in the last moment before the dream takes you, Do you feel the lightness of being forgotten by the stars? It is a beautiful thing to be part of the great silence. It is a state of grace where you no longer have to be anything at all. You are just a pulse in the dark, a heart beating in time with the Schumann resonance. Where are you in this final act? Are you 1,000 miles away from the nearest testing range? Or are you in the heart of a city that has finally turned off its lights? Share your final thoughts with the void before they dissolve. We are all witnesses to the departure. We are all part of the silence that 3I Atlas left behind. The object is gone, but the space it occupied in our minds is now filled with a quiet, heavy awe. It is a gift of perspective that only a visitor from the light years could provide. We are small, we are temporary, and we are perfectly safe in our smallness. The trajectory is complete. The sensors are dark. The servers in Colorado and the archives in the Vatican are silent. The monk and the mathematician have both laid down their pens. The shadow has crossed the boundary and returned to the deep night from which it came. It is moving toward the stars that have no names, toward the voids that have no maps. And you are moving toward the center of your own peace. The air in your room is still. The blankets are warm. The universe is wide, and it is holding its breath so that you can hear your own heart. Elongated sentences now, stretching out like the distance between galaxies. The words are becoming fewer. The pauses are becoming longer. You are floating. You are sinking. You are being woven into the fabric of the great silence. There is nothing left to say. There is nothing left to know. The story has reached its natural conclusion, a resolution that offers no answers, only the infinite comfort of the dark. The classified testing is over. The secrets are gone. There is only you, the night, and the slow, eternal rotation of the stars. The heavy, rhythmic pulse of the universe is the only sound remaining. It is a lullaby for a species that is finally learning to quiet its mind. You are part of the harmony now. You are part of the pattern. You are part of the silence. The visitor has moved on, but it has left the door open just a crack, allowing the cool, clean air of the infinite to refresh your world. Breathe it in. Let it fill your lungs and your spirit. You are home. You are safe. You are asleep. Close your eyes and drift with the orbit of tomorrow. Good night.